Our first panelist is Dr. Pierre-Yves Pascal, Senior Lecturer at Université des Antilles in Guadeloupe, specializing in food webs with a focus on sargassum and its environmental impact. His research includes investigating heavy metal concentrations in sargassum and its potential role in environmental contamination, building on his extensive background in studying benthic bacteria and estuarine ecosystems. Yves Pascal, you may take the stage. Dr. Damien Deveau is joining us online. He's a senior lecturer at the University of Mayotte, specializing in ecotoxology and the fate of organic micropollutants in aquatic environments. He's joining us online, Dr. Damien Deveau. Dr. Maud Benoit is in the space with us. Doc, are you here? Yes? Dr. Maud is the services manager and partnership developer at Algae, specializing in custom products related to macroalgae analysis and bioactivity assays. And we have also with us Dr. Christy Aline. She's an environmental management specialist with over 7 years of experience in fisheries research and sargassum management. And Dr. Gail Manny, so Dr. Gail Manny is an oceanographer, and we're happy he's joining us today as Geo Blue Planet European Coordinator. He collaborates with stakeholders to provide reliable data and tools for effective management of sargassum-related challenges. So our panelists for this afternoon, let's welcome them.
So we're looking for AV support to help Pierre-Yves to be able to manage his slides. Gail, are you doing slides or you're... Okay. You doing slides?
Thanks. So thank you very much. So I'm coming from Guadeloupe, French island, not so far from here in distance. Time of travel is a different story, and they lose my baggage, so I'm sorry about my short. I'm going to speak about how to limit release of contaminant by sargassum in coastline, or how to limit the source contaminant in sargassum-based products. Arsenic is a natural compound naturally found in marine environment, and there is a confusion by algae between phosphate and arsenic in phosphate transporter. As a result, they take up the arsenic from the environment and they bioaccumulated it, reaching concentration really high. And it's the most abundant compound, and that's why my talk is going to be principally focused on this one. So several studies were conducted with holopelagic, and they give different results with different concentration of arsenic, but one main result is that the amount of arsenic is high and is always high, reaching maximum level for animal feed, for instance. So arsenic is constantly high at spatial scale. A study conducted in Guadeloupe, a survey along 2 years, have shown that the amount of arsenic in each morphotype is high, and that this high concentration is observed during all the survey time. So arsenic is constantly high at temporal scale. Arsenic presents several forms, organic, inorganic, and the inorganic form is the more toxic. And a survey realized in Barbados shown that this inorganic form is the most abundant all year round. So for those different reasons, arsenic must be constantly considered in management of sargassum. So arsenic is in sargassum. What happened to this arsenic when sargassum reached the coast? An experimental approach in aquarium shown that this arsenic is rapidly released. And another approach in the field with caged sargassum in different coastal environments shown that it's the same for all morphotype and then release their arsenic in coastal environment. Arsenic is released. Well, does it contaminate coastal environment? The first study with 2 bivalves shown that their concentration were high and potentially linked with sargassum. We conduct a study in Martinique close to artificial floating barriers that allow to limit accumulate sargassum far from the shore, and we sampled several organisms near and close to this accumulation, near and far. And so we sampled several organisms belonging to different groups, algae, seagrass, urchin, and we did not, during period of active and reduced sounding, and we need not observe clear trend of arsenic contamination due to sargassum, at least with those animals, suggesting that floating barriers are not contaminating environment. So, with this kind of floating barrier, we avoid sargassum stranding, and we limit several negative impact of the stranding. Negative impact on the environment due to eutrophication, negative impact on public health due to gas production, and on the economy due to tourist disappearance in the beach with stranded algae. But we also limit risk of contaminant release with risk in environment and public health. So that's a good news for all those aspects. Yeah. Okay. So, so those algae can be harvested and then used for valorization. A lot of talk have been given, and you know this. Algae are fresh, sand-free, without coastal contaminants such as chlordecone. So all these are good news for the use of this sargassum product, but they are highly concentrated in arsenic due to their fresh arrival. So in order to manage this arsenic, they can be diluted with other products or other treatment, for instance, hot water, citric acid, and fermentation give good result, but with other species, and more research are needed to see if it can be a good economic plan. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Pierre-Yves. That was wonderful, concise. We will save questions until everyone has spoken. So we move on to Christy Aline, who I'm pleased to say is an alumni of the Cave Hill campus. So I'm sure we can give her a warm welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Christy, and this afternoon my presentation is entitled Spatial Temporal Analysis of Pelagic Sargassum, Understanding Morphotypes and Arsenic. So I want to share 2 pieces of research with you today, but before I do that, I really just wanted to set the stage to let you know that in 2021, Oxenford and her team identified 5 main challenges towards valorization, and these challenges are grouped by color on the screen. We have harvesting, transport, and storage. We have variability in micropollutants and insufficient knowledge on chemical components. We have funding, weak governance, and uncertainty surrounding supply. My research that I'm going to share with you today focused on 2 of the 5 identified challenges. Specifically, it looked at uncertainty surrounding the supply of morphotypes, and it also looks at insufficient knowledge on arsenic content. So as it relates to morphotypes, there is high variability and uncertainty in the supply of the relative abundance of the 3 commonly recognized morphotypes. And these are Sargassum fluidans 3, Sargassum natans 1, and Sargassum natans 8. And this variability remains poorly understood, and it has implications for valorizing sargassum since the different forms have different properties. With our morphotype assessments, we went to an East Coast beach in Barbados, and after an influx event, we would collect samples of sargassum, and then we would separate that sample into the 3 commonly occurring morphotypes. And basically, we would just try to attain the relative abundance of each of those morphotypes. After we've completed this analysis, we would also conduct backtracking because we wanted to identify if changes that we were observing on the shore with morphotype composition, was that related to transport pathways or sub-origins within the source region. And we found significant seasonal variation in the relative abundance of the 3 morphotypes, which could be traced to 2 distinct easterly sub-origins or transport pathways. In terms of arsenic, there are still significant knowledge gaps in the arsenic composition of the Caribbean pelagic sargassum and how it varies spatially and temporally. This is in part because of the complexity and cost associated with analysis, but knowledge gaps on arsenic presents valorization challenges across majority of the potential applications, and it can also have implications for storage and disposal of sargassum. For us to understand the arsenic content, we collected 23 samples, and we wanted to see what the total arsenic was, but we also really wanted to look at inorganic versus organic. And as my previous colleague just told you, inorganic and organic vary in their toxicity. So we wanted to see how much of our total arsenic was represented by inorganic arsenic. And we found high variation in the total and inorganic arsenic concentrations of pelagic sargassum arriving in Barbados. And in our study, inorganic arsenic represented substantial percentage of the total arsenic present in sargassum. I forgot to mention, I did drop the QR codes to the papers, which are all open access if you want to scan it and read it yourself. But basically, in our study, 40% of our arsenic was represented by inorganic arsenic. And this baseline study actually helps Barbados and other Eastern Caribbean countries who may not be able to afford to test for total arsenic speciation, which is a little bit more costly than testing for total arsenic. So if they can only afford to test for total arsenic, we have a baseline that says, okay, of your total arsenic, approximately 40% may be inorganic. This is a really quick snapshot of all the work that my team and I are doing, but we did help to fit a few pieces of the puzzle together to really understand what is going on with the variation with morphotypes and with arsenic. There's lots more work to be done. And of course, the regional adaptation across 2 sargassum influx events, I should say, will require more of these types of analysis, but it really also requires, as many people have said, sustainable value chains, job opportunities, building capacity, and something that addresses the removal of biomass. I think that's the end of my 4 minutes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Christy. That's really excellent. I think we will stay with the panelists who are here, and then we'll end up with Damien DeVault at the end. So we move on to Maud Benoit. Okay, Pierre-Yves will show you how to use it. Just wait until they change it. I think they have to change from Christie's to yours.
Hi. I'm very glad to be there to introduce myself and the company that I'm representing today. So I'm part of Algaia company. It's yours? Ah, okay. So I come back. Let's try.
Yeah,
Yes, please, Gail, you step in.
Okay,
Go
let's
ahead.
try it. Let's do this. Thank you. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm here to give you some insights on the important work the scientific community is doing to address the growing challenge of sargassum, and especially what we do at Mercator Ocean International. We are a non-profit organization entrusted by the European Commission to implement the Copernicus Marine Service, which provides open and free data on the state of our oceans. This is essential for informing decision-making on a wide range of issues, including sargassum monitoring and management. Sargassum monitoring was actually included in the last Copernicus service evolution, and we are hoping to distribute this real-time observation in the foreseeable future. My team at Mercator Ocean is also working on the project of the Space for Climate Observatory of the French National Space Agency for seasonal forecasting of sargassum, and I will get back to it later. Oops, sorry. And here we are. And finally, Mercator Ocean is actively involved in the GeoBlue Planet initiative, funded through the Horizon program. This initiative hosts a technical working group on sargassum that aims to support not only the scientific community, but also member states of the Caribbean region. One of the group's key contributions is the Sargassum Information Hub, a one-stop shop platform for all sargassum-related information. As I said, our team at Mercator Ocean also focuses on providing operational forecasts of sargassum at seasonal timescales. This means that we can predict the amount of sargassum that will reach your shores each year, helping you prepare and respond more efficiently from one year to the next. This technical development is funded by the Space for Climate Observatory of the French National Space Agency in collaboration with CLS. For satellite observation, a private company represented by Marc Lucas here in the room, and from the IRD, the French Institute of Research and Development, for the numerical modeling. However, we can go further. The scientific community needs to be able to deliver accurate information on the mass of sargassum close to shore to help you better prepare, manage, and run businesses. To do this, we face two main challenges. The first challenge is translating what we see from satellite into tangible quantities or mass. For business operation, it's important to know not just where sargassum is, but how much there is to work with. So to bridge this gap, we need in situ data or measurements taken directly in the ocean. This data allows us to estimate mass from satellite and thus improve predictions, which in turn helps businesses and communities plan more efficiently. The second challenge is providing reliable information closer to the coast. Currently, the available observation and forecast can only give sargassum position at sea. But we understand that what you really need is precise, timely information about when and how much sargassum will land on your shores, fishing harbors, and protective dikes. So these are complex challenges, but with sufficient funding and collaboration, the scientific community can develop innovative solutions to meet these needs. Looking ahead, initiatives like SARCOP2 aim to leverage the expertise of the scientific community and especially Mercator Ocean to create more accurate and actionable sargassum warning systems to answer all stakeholders' needs. This will help inform a range of users from fishermen and beachgoers to policymakers and business leaders. providing the data they need to respond proactively. You understand that this is an exciting time for the scientific community as we see our work having a real impact on decision making, your businesses, and in general on the local communities. And with the right tools, partnerships, and support, the scientific community can help you turn this environmental challenge into an opportunity to build sustainable industries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gail Mani. We now move on to Maud Benoit. So we hope that your correct talk is now loaded.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
Take it away, Maud.
It's not, yes, oops. Yeah. Okay, so clap 2. I'm here. So I'm really glad to be there to present Algaia, the company that I'm working for. So Algaia is a French dedicated company. Basically, we are part of a German group dedicated to natural fibers. So it's a big group with a commercial force all over the world. And Algaia, we are based in France, in Brittany, the west part of France, and we have 2 plants processing fresh seaweed. We are 90 employees, and we are processing 40,000 tons of fresh seaweed per year. So we are one of the main European players in the seaweed industry, and we are producing alginates. So alginates is texturizing solution extracted from brown seaweed. And those functional ingredients are deserve different markets, such as food, feed application, cosmetic, feed supplement, agriculture, and all the markets who are desire for texturizing the product. Innovation is really, we are focused on innovation. Is a leitmotiv on the company because every year we manage more than 15 innovation projects, and we used to collaborate all over the world and through European funding also to develop the value chain of seaweed, of global seaweed, European seaweed. Regarding our commercial portfolio, we are producing more than 80 commercial seaweed ingredients, functional but also bioactive ingredients, because we are also producing some biostimulant from liquid biostimulant from seaweed at an industrial scale. So today, my purpose, my objective today to give you some clue based on this biorefinery model existing in France and in Europe based on seaweed. We are make many assessments of Sargassum, of course, because for us it could be a good solution to feed our 2 plants to increase the potential. So each plant processes 40,000 tons. So it's a total of 80,000 tons of fresh seaweed per year. And those seaweed are coming from ocean. We are wild harvesting with 36 boats who are working for us. So this is a very big volume, very important, massive volume. So when we are developing high value chain for seaweed ingredients, this roadmap is all the steps that we are passing through, have all the clue and all the different steps in mind to have the volume adapted with the good market request, because it's very important to have a business plan and marketing and what I would like to do with my product, and the customers in front of my solution, and does my volumes are in adequation with the market request too. So this is a map to give you some clue about all the key points that we have to focus and to care about before to launch commercial ingredients, from the biomass analysis and the sourcing. So we are of course, today talking about the Sargassum sourcing, there are so many things to learn and to discuss. We are focusing, of course, on eco-extraction in a biorefinery concept, because our industrial plants are working in a biorefinery concept today. And the end of the value chain, but the most important is the marketing. It's really important to know how I can market my product, because no marketing, no sale, no customers. So it's really important this end chain, I mean, is the most important to think about commercial plan. Yes, this is my last slide, thank you. So just last slide, in Europe we are processing Laminaria species, Laminaria digitata, Laminaria hyperborea, for those one who know those species. But through our innovation project, we were partner of the Safety Sargassum project, aiming to valorize and to understand the sargassum responsible of massive bleaching in the Caribbean here. And of course, our role on those projects was the end value chain, which is the valorization and transformation process. And and the application of the project was biostimulant and biomaterials, as we discussed a lot this morning. But the aim of this project for us was really to give some real figures of what is realistic and what is not, based on our own industrial model. So this project has been funded by the French Agency for Energy, and this project is end this year. So this is my contact details, so do not hesitate to contact me. We are very more than open to discussion. We collaborate with many partners, public, private, all over the world. And we can apply some commercial solution or to discuss about your needs in terms of market products, seaweed market products. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Maud. This is your microphone.
I don't know where I give you this.
All right. So we move on to Zoom land now. I believe that Damien Devaux, are you here with us? Damien? Do we have contact with Dr. Devaux? I'm looking at the AB people. Yes, we do. Okay, Dr. Devaux, we can see you. Can you say something?
Moi, je vous vois très bien.
Yes, we can hear you as well. Go
J'ai
ahead.
partagé mon écran. Je ne sais pas, on m'a dit que c'est comme ça que ça marcherait, pour que vous puissiez suivre la présentation. Voilà. Alors, déjà, pour nous scientifiques, c'est un peu compliqué. On essaye de vous présenter quelque chose alors que vous êtes en train de digérer, ce qui est la pire heure pour vous expliquer des choses compliquées. Et en plus, on vous assène des PowerPoint. Mais ça se passe manifestement, donc on va continuer comme ça. Le sujet de ce moment, c'est quels sont les freins à l'utilisation des sargasses par rapport à une contamination de micropolluants organiques ou métalliques. J'ai fait une revue sur la question en 2021, donc je renvoie les gens intéressés à cette question-là. Et moi, je voulais voir, si vous voulez, comment l'expérience que j'ai eue auprès d'industriels a montré que ces blocages, pour l'instant sont assez théoriques, pouvaient prendre corps auprès d'industriels qui arrivaient auprès de moi en disant « je voudrais faire telle ou telle valorisation » et ça ne marchait pas. Et je me suis rendu compte qu'il fallait déjà que je m'assure bien que tout le monde soit au courant de ce qui se passait. Donc le fait que les sargasses arrivent de façon intermittente est quelque chose qui est connu. On a vu ce matin, on a revu avec Mercator que maintenant on sait prédire quand est-ce que les sargasses vont arriver et à quelle quantité. Donc ce sont des arrivages à la fois massifs et intermittents. On peut les anticiper, mais pas non plus de façon considérable. Il y a un contenu d'arsenic qui s'aggrave en se présentant à la côte, puisque l'arsenic pentavalent, l'arsenic qui est en mer, est un arsenic qui va dériver, s'il reste en milieu oxygéné, vers des formes anodines, alors que quand on a des conditions qui rendent notamment le sargasse puante, on va dans les conditions les pires qui vont produire de l'arsenic trivalent, et là, on va avoir les formes les plus contaminantes. Et en s'approchant des côtes françaises des Antilles, mais avec un gros bémol sur les côtes non françaises des Antilles, où les suivis de chlordécone n'ont pas forcément été faits, on va voir l'accumulation de chlordécone être réalisée en très peu de temps. Pour rappel aussi, les sargasses, là c'est un exemple d'une journée. Une journée un peu violente, c'est sûr, mais une journée quand même, où sur les côtes de Martinique, 37 000 mètres cubes de sargasses se sont échoués à raison de 250 kg par mètre cube. Et donc ça faisait sur une journée 210 kg d'arsenic et des sargasses qui se sont dégradées en quelques heures et qui du coup ne correspondaient plus forcément aux conditions que les industriels voulaient exploiter. Tout ça pour dire que des telles quantités, nonobstant les qualités des molécules qui sont incluses dans les sargasses, je pense par exemple aux capacités qu'on peut, les molécules qu'on peut espérer dans les cosmétiques par exemple, ne sont pas, ne répondent pas aux besoins. Le besoin pour la population, c'est de retirer les sargasses aussi vite que possible pour en faire quelque chose. Je me rappelle un industriel, je ne dirai pas le nom, mais vous devinez à peu près qui faisait du plastique avec des algues et qui est venu avec plein de bonne volonté en Martinique nous dire, en pensant résoudre la question, qu'il allait utiliser 500 kilos de sargasses pour faire des plastiques par an. On est très loin du besoin. Et donc, la question qui se pose pour moi, c'est au vu des contaminations, au vu aussi de la capacité ou non de brûler ces sargasses avec les cendres pleines d'azote et donc les NOx qui vont être produites, c'est quels sont les types d'industries qu'on peut essayer de déclencher. Et surtout, il faut une industrie qui puisse se passer des sargasses. Et je pense que c'est l'aspect le plus compliqué. C'est-à-dire qu'on a une situation où l'industrie doit pouvoir tenir durant 10 mois sans sargasses. Ça arrive, même parfois au début, des années sans sargasses. Et au bout, la question, c'est est-ce qu'on a un besoin d'usage local de ces produits de sargasses transformés en local, ou est-ce qu'on va devoir l'exporter? Et ça a été souligné d'ailleurs tout à l'heure par les estimés présentateurs du panel numéro 1, Brigitta Thussenbrock et Ignacio Munoz. Les sargasses transformées sont sans sable et fraîches. Donc pour le dire autrement, dans l'écrasante façon dont on rassemble les sargasses actuellement, c'est inexploitable. Est-ce que pour autant on peut utiliser les sargasses en mer? Non, parce que c'est beaucoup trop cher en argent et en carbone. On a quand même une situation où là, le CO2 qui nous pose problème à l'échelle mondiale a le bon goût de se capter sur un secteur qui habituellement ne capte pas beaucoup de carbone ou pas à ces volumes-là. On va aussi avoir des volumes limités si on travaille offshore parce qu'on aura à ce moment-là des bateaux-usines qui ne pourront pas générer, absorber trop de sargasses non plus. Reste maintenant à pouvoir utiliser les sargasses sur la côte avec le problème que j'ai évoqué tout à l'heure. Donc on voit ici les barrages flottants. Pour moi, en ayant tourné la question dans tous les sens, ce qui me paraît le plus propice, c'est d'utiliser des barrages flottants focalisants et pas uniquement en cherchant à faire des barrages flottants pour protéger les côtes, puisque les sargasses vont perdre leur arsenic notamment très rapidement. J'ai eu l'occasion de fouler des tapis de sargasses qui contenaient 1000 microgrammes par litre d'arsenic, sachant que 200 microgrammes par litre, c'est la limite où on ne sait pas si c'est toxique ou non. Et moi, j'ai retrouvé des jambes raides durant 2 jours, donc je peux vous dire que c'est pas très bon pour la santé. Donc, en ayant des barrages flottants qui font converger les sargasses vers des pics, vers des pointes les plus avancées des caps, eh bien là, on peut espérer rassembler les sargasses encore fraîches, qui n'ont pas encore été contaminés par la chlordécone. En 4 heures, les sargasses sont contaminés un maximum de leur chlordécone possible. Donc totalement inutilisables. Et les sargasses, si elles ne sont pas exploitées dans des bonnes conditions, finissent en déchets ultimes qui exigent des conditions très drastiques pour pouvoir être simplement stockés en vue de leur mise de côté en poubelle illimitée en temps. Donc là, moi, ce que je promeus, c'est le fait qu'on mette dans ces câbles, dans les sites qui sont au bout d'entonnoirs faits par des barrages flottants, des sargators en fait fixés au sol, fixés en fait à des rampes en béton, des sargators suffisamment grands pour que leur flèche, la partie haute du sargator, soit plus haute que des bennes de camions, que les camions bennes puissent défiler en dessous pour emporter les milliers de tonnes de sargasses qui peuvent arriver. Et avec au besoin même carrément un funiculaire si on arrive à installer une usine derrière assez proche.
Damien, can I ask
je
you
finis.
just 1 minute, please, okay?
Oui, c'est ma dernière. Voici comment on peut arriver à faire quelque chose. Ce n'est pas exclusif. On peut certainement trouver d'autres solutions, mais ça montre que des solutions existent. Il faut une industrie pour qu'on puisse utiliser toutes les quantités de sargasses qui arrivent, qui puissent utiliser des déchets verts et qui puissent s'en passer également. Les déchets verts issus de sargasses. Dans le cas d'Oldex, on a pu faire ça. Donc Oldex fait des terreaux, donc du compost de très haute qualité. On a pu gérer de très gros volumes. Ça acceptait des sargasses qui pouvaient commencer dans un état un peu fatigué. On avait là un usage qui couvrait des besoins locaux. En Martinique, en l'occurrence, on achète des terreaux venus de métropole. Donc là, en l'occurrence, on arrivait à produire localement. On n'a pas besoin de beaucoup d'énergie, d'électricité. N'oublions pas qu'on n'a pas des réseaux très connectés au niveau électrique dans nos îles. Et pas besoin d'eau. Autre problème qu'on peut avoir sur des industries. On garde aussi une situation qui fait que la nature nous fournit du carbone fixé au travers des sargasses. Si on en fait du sol, on garde le bénéfice d'avoir fixé du carbone. Et donc, c'est des installations qui peuvent être suivies de lagunage qui vont pouvoir capter l'arsenic supplémentaire. J'ai fini.
Thank you very much, Damien. I wish to thank all of the speakers. This is not an easy thing to do, to have scientists explain in great detail within 4 or 5 minutes what they've done. So just let's hear a round of applause before we move on to questions. I'm going to invite questions directly from the audience. In the interest of time, I'm not going to ask any myself. Someone should pass the microphone to the gentleman at the front.
Je n'entends pas.
We have mics up here if you want to use these.
What? Yeah. Seems to be working. Thank you very much. My name is Christoph Alk. I'm the German Special Envoy for climate issues in the Caribbean.
Mein Name ist Christoph Alk.
For the excellent discussion. There are some German experts in the room who also.
Hier sind ein paar deutsche Experten im Raum.
Later on, but I would like to know on the research, what is the kind of cooperation that you have between, for instance, University of the West Indies in terms of research with researchers from Europe, from Martinique, Guadeloupe, and so on? Is there something happening? Is that something that can be improved, enhanced? I would be very interested in that issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. Yes, indeed. So we have, I had some discussions today with colleagues in Germany who are helping researchers who are generating renewable biogas at the KFIL campus of the University of the West Indies. So a number of them are here today. We have a delegation from New Zealand who have done research with us as well. And I would invite maybe Christy, since you're a UE grad, you might know what's going on in Sermes.
Well, not in Sermes particularly, but as you...
I know the chair shouldn't normally do this. But I have to just mention the shortage, if you want, is not between academic cooperations with other academies across the world. What you will find at the University of the West Indies is that we publish, our academic research is very highly respected according to all the international metrics. And what is missing, in fact, is the connection to the venture capitalists, to the industry partners, to the private sector, to take the ideas and bring them to scale. So that is where the gaps are, not with respect to the international collaborations, which are very fruitful, and I'm sure they will continue. Is there another question in the audience?
Excuse me? Just
Yes,
I would
please,
like to
Gael.
add that in the frame of the GeoBlue Planet Initiative and the SARGASSUM Hub, we have this SARGASSUM working group, and we try to bridge a gap between the scientists and the stakeholders. And we have some scientists from United States, Mexico, 8 countries in the Caribbean. We have also French and UK scientists, and we are still ongoing and looking for some new partnership between scientists and to bridge this gap with stakeholders. So it exists, and it's an ongoing development.
And Gael, just to clarify, that's the so-called one-stop shop where you're pulling together information, which, according to our EU partners, is the main purpose of this gathering, is so that we're not all working in silos. So what you're doing, I think, is wonderful, to try and pull together all this information in one place. Thank you, Gail. We have the lady there, then we have Gorsha, and someone is either you have to be careful, you know, if you adjust your hair. It's a little bit like being in an auction. We'll sell you something. Can the microphone be given to the lady who's standing? Yourself.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much. Alina Orrico here, representing 15 development finance institutions, European, so from EDFI Association. We've been hearing throughout this morning the clear need for the effort funding. I completely hear what everybody's saying here. I would like to know if from the research side, and if you're not working in silos, you're collaborating among yourselves, that's wonderful to hear. Have you discussed scalability issues? So we are trying to look at the SARGASSUM initiative, this response, not only from a one island perspective. Development finance institutions, what they need is to address scalability, so scalable projects that could benefit most impact. So that's the kind of thing that we need to hear. All ears if you have a collaboration that ended up being translated through what you just discussed. If you're gathering stakeholders together to put projects together, the bigger, the better, the more impact. That's the kind of thing that I'd be keen to hear.
I'm volunteering Maud to answer that, because her company is a very large one involved in algae research.
Yeah, thank you for the comment and the question. Yes, of course. I think that the scalability is crucial and have to be implemented in each project now, because as we heard this morning, there is many study, many research. We know all about the science and the composition of sargassum, and we hear biostimulant, biomaterials a lot of time, and now the next step is scalability of, you're completely right, to see what is the impact of my process at large scale, what does the yield, what are the cost production, etc. Does I lost the bioactive or anything I would like to focus. The cost of the real production, and I think it's really crucial to now improve and assess these points in all the projects, emerging projects in the coming year, or I don't know what's timing, but yes, this is crucial. So this is something that in the project that I mentioned in my presentation, the SAFE project is, our role was not to try a lab scale. No, there is so much data. It was to try at pilot batch scale. So the aim was to proceed 300 kilos, 400 kilos is, yeah, it's small batch scale for us. Of course, when you have to process more than 1 million biomass, 300 kilos is nothing. So, yeah, this is something really important, the cost production, yes, sure.
Okay, thank you very much. Ambassador Wasilewska?
Thank you very much. I don't really have a question. I found this session extremely interesting, and for me it's so inspiring that so much research is going on. And I just want to confirm that the purpose of today is to bring you closer together. And one of the reasons why we're so happy to have Professor Landis here is we hope he's going to somehow pull you all together and help us figure out what is it that we can do to support this fantastic work that you're doing, not only between the region and Europe, but anywhere else that the research is going on. So may I suggest, so boldly, that you have a side meeting. Anybody who is here working on research or interested in research or interested in scaling up the results of research, please contact Professor Landis and have a side meeting and discuss it, and please let us know what we can do after. Thank you.
Okay, so I will agree to that on one condition, that we can use the EU as the entry point, because I don't want the universities to be speaking to each other and the researchers. We have to be all part of this one complete value chain. So I can set something up, and I'm having some ideas about a platform that we can use. So we had other questions in the audience, I believe. Yes, please, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Spencer Thomas from Grenada. A quick question on the state of the research with respect to arsenic contamination. Are there any health effects? Could you give us what is the state of the research on health and also on issues relating to biodiversity in terms of the collection of the sargassum? Are there any issues there? Or are there any issues in terms of release of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere? Thank you.
Okay, so I think I heard two questions there. So I think Pierre-Yves and Damien can speak about arsenic contamination. And I think the bottom line that we all want to know, is this a showstopper? Are we never going to get past this? Or is this something that we will deal with? So please address the arsenic, and then separately we'll speak about the biodiversity.
I'm not sure.
Just cast your mind forward. Are we going to be able to remove the arsenic safely so that we can utilize sargassum, let's say, for example, for feeds and things like that?
Well, so as I said, so there are two ways to process. Well, the first one will be to dilute, so to use other organic matter, for instance, for fertilization. To use a product from sugar cane, it allows to dilute the amount of arsenic. On other processes are existing. I would recommend to ask to Brigitta. She says that she may have a wonderful solution this morning. So research are still to be done on this aspect.
And if Damien is still with us, Damien, I think I heard you say that when you collect the sargassum in the barrier at sea, that the arsenic leaches out. Is that what you were saying? If Damien is still there?
Oui, je suis là. On a dans les sargasses 100 microgrammes par kilo de poids sec, milligrammes, pardon, d'arsenic. On est à peu près 5 fois au-dessus de ce qui peut être utilisé, par exemple, pour un terreau. Donc, on est dans le cas des sargasses pour elles-mêmes à des niveaux de contamination très élevés. Je tiens à préciser que c'est un peu plus complexe que simplement dire qu'il y a organique et inorganique. Il y a deux types d'arsenic, le pentavalent et le trivalent. Le pentavalent, je vous passe les détails, mais il va aller métaboliser par les bactéries vers des formes qui sont perçues comme sans danger par l'administration française, au point que l'arsenic avait été retiré, même si ce n'est pas très intuitif, de la liste des molécules à surveiller dans l'environnement. Le problème, c'est que les sargasses, quand elles viennent sur la côte, elles vont pourrir. Et là, elles vont créer un milieu anoxique qui va induire la spéciation de l'arsenic de pentavalent en trivalent. Et la métabolisation de ce trivalent va aller vers des formes d'arsenic qui sont en gros 35 000 fois plus toxiques que les autres formes d'arsenic pentavalentes. Donc, on a un potentiel de toxicité qui est élevé. Par rapport à l'arsenic, il est affecté au milieu aquatique. Si je précise ça, c'est que si vous prenez par exemple, j'ai reprojeté quelque chose qui était dans ma présentation, j'ai voulu faire court parce qu'il fallait faire court, j'ai suivi l'arsenic dans les terreaux. Et je ne sais pas si on peut représenter mon PowerPoint, qui est toujours partagé. Sur l'arsenic, on voit que l'arsenic, au début, a des couleurs ocre, ça correspond à l'arsenic pentavalent. Il va changer d'espèce et va devenir trivalent. Les formes trivalentes qui sont, que vous voyez présentes là, sembleraient être les préliminaires à des formes trivalentes volatiles, qui du coup peuvent aussi proposer que par la voie aérienne, on ait une dissipation de l'arsenic, ce qui implique de bien suivre les questions de santé des travailleurs, parce que du coup, que ce soit ceux qui vont ramasser les sargasses ou ceux qui vont les manipuler dans les andins pour le travail, pour faire du terreau, il y a peut-être un risque à surveiller. Pour la population alentour, à surveiller aussi, mais d'une façon générale, ce qui est assez probable, c'est qu'on ait là une solution pour, en gros, abattre l'arsenic par le haut, une forme de volatilisation. Pour la chlordécone, même phénomène, assez inattendu. Si on ne connaît pas les questions de chlordécone, ça fait des années qu'on nous dit que la chlordécone ne se dégrade pas, sauf des milieux chauds et anaérobies. Un andin de sargasse ou un tas de sargasses sur un bord de plage peut être chaud. Un andin de sargasse, donc on aura mélangé des farines de poule et des coquilles d'œufs, monte à 70-80 degrés facilement. Et c'est un milieu anaérobie. Forcément, c'est la fermentation qui produit cette température. Et là, il est normal que la chlordécone puisse se dégrader. Donc on a une situation où l'arsenic, évidemment, elle ne pourra pas l'empêcher d'être là. Mais où effectivement on peut tenter de la diluer, où on peut aussi constater que dans des manipulations particulières, on peut la voir se dissiper. Donc c'est pas tout à fait un problème insurmontable. Après, le problème insurmontable, c'est les volumes.
Thank you very much,
voilà.
Damia. I think Christy wanted to come in. Yes, please. Use the microphone. Who's
No, I
addressing
was saying he can translate the French from Damien into what he was talking about with the pentavalent, trivalent, and the different forms. So
I think we shouldn't get too technical here. I think it's already defeated two translators.
I don't speak French, but I understood the basics of what Damien was trying to say. But I think the French guy would understand better.
Trivalent arsenic can be volatile if you put it in a windrow. The windrow seems to be able to produce volatile types of arsenic, even if it's trivalent dominant. And you can have in the same time degradation of chlordécone due to warm and anaerobic conditions.
Thank you very much for that explanation. I've been told that we're out of time, so any other questions can be directed towards the panelists. We're all going to be here. The gentleman, I apologize that we didn't get to speak about the biodiversity issue that you raised.
You can talk to me about biodiversity. It's okay
But,
when I leave the stage.
Yeah. So thank you again very much to this wonderful panel. It's been a real pleasure and a privilege to be the moderator.
And thank you as well, Professor Clive Landis. Let's give our moderator a round of applause. In the interest of time, we have something special for you guys. We're going to mix the sessions. We're going to have two sessions happening simultaneously. One will happen in this room, and the other will happen in the Trinidad room. And I'm going to tell you now what these are. So in this room, if you wish to stay for this panel discussion, it's called Policies, Strategies, and Action Plans at National and Local Levels. If you wish to participate in this panel discussion, you can remain in this room. For those of you interested in the other panel discussion, Unlocking Sargassum Potential, Critical Steps of Forecasting, Collection, and Storage. So that's happening right across the hall in the Trinidad room. Moderating this session, the one that's happening in the Crown Ballroom in this room, is Mr. Edison Rijna, Cabinet Special Envoy for Bonet. If you're here, you're in charge of this session. The session happening on Unlocking Sargassum Potential, Critical Steps for Forecasting, Collection, and Storage. This panel discussion is being led by Dr. Stephen Nimrod, Assistant Professor and Lecturer of Marine Biology at the St. George's University. So have fun, guys. Good luck. Of Mexico. You can join us up here. Mrs. Stephanie Linton Shields, you're up. Welcome aboard. You're the next contestant on our panel discussion. Mrs. Shields is the manager, local area planning branch, spatial planning division, Jamaica National Environment and Planning Agency in Jamaica. All right, also on this panel is Ms. Judith Ramming, the manager, Bonet Natural Marine Park. Welcome. We also have Dr. Shelley Ann Cox, Chief Fisheries Officer, Department of Fisheries, Barbados. And finally, we have Honorable Jose Ramon Reyes, Vice Minister of Marine Resources, Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources from the Dominican Republic. And he's all set. He has his translation devices up and ready to go. So enjoy. This panel discussion is being moderated by Mr. Edison Rijna.
Hello? Yes. Good afternoon. I looking for the MC to do the introduction, or are we not going to do the introduction? No MC. Yeah. Maybe we can do it ourselves, and for the sake of time, that we continue on this today. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Edison Reina. It is spelled Rijna, but IJ in Dutch is Reina. I'm the special envoy for Bonaire, St. Eustatius, and Seba. I represent them on behalf of the Ministry of Interior Affairs and Kingdom Relations from the Netherlands. And I represent these islands at the EU regarding funding, at the UN regarding networking, and also for trade and development, trade development and economic development for these islands in the region of Latin America. It's for me an honor and privilege to be here today. And I would like, before going on, to give the word to the panelists who will shortly introduce themselves.
Okay, hello. Well, my name is Rodrigo Morales Castillo. I represent Mexico incoming Secretary of Environmental, the Dr. Alicia Bárcena. As you know, right now in Mexico, well, Mexico is undergoing in a change of government in 200 years in history. Today, finally, a woman is taking place, is taking the office of Mexican president, the Dr. Claudia Sheinbaum. So in that matter, I'm here with representing the incoming Secretary of Environmental of Mexico.
Thank you for that. Word to the next.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephanie Linton Shields. I'm the manager for the local area planning branch within the National Environment and Planning Agency in NEPA. We are largely responsible for the protection of the natural and built environment across Jamaica nationally. So basically, I'll be here presenting on the community involvement in terms of Jamaica's SARGASSUM management strategy. And that's about it.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. We'll pass the word now for Judith.
Good afternoon. My name is Judith Reming, and I'm working on Bonaire for a nature organization which is called STINAPA. And we're also here today to talk about the SARGASSUM issue that we're having on our island and how we're dealing with that SARGASSUM challenge.
Thank you very much, Judith. And now the word for Mr. Honorario José Ramón Reyes. A usted la palabra.
Muy buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es José Ramón Reyes López, viceministro de Recursos Costeros y Marinos del Ministerio de Medio Ambiente y Recursos Naturales. Hoy estamos aquí para abordar el fenómeno del sargazo. Gracias.
Gracias, José. And also we have Dr. Shelley-Ann Cox online.
Greetings from Barbados. Can you hear me? Hi, good afternoon and greetings from Barbados.
Yes, good afternoon. We can hear you.
Yes, I want to say a warm afternoon to some of my colleagues who are in the room. I'm sorry that I couldn't meet all of you. I had no idea everybody was going to converge here in Grenada. But all of the SARGASSUM colleagues that I've worked with in the past, from Europe and Caribbean and beyond, I want to say a pleasant good afternoon. I am the Chief Fisheries Officer in Barbados. Before, I was on a multidisciplinary team working on sargassum-related research, especially the development of the Sargassum Outlook Bulletin for the Eastern Caribbean. And of course, one of the co-authors on the UNEP Caribbean Environment Program Sargassum White Paper. And most recently on the team with Dr. Christy Aline, who was in the panel before, and Rashida Speed on the resource document for the IDB lab called Innovations for Sargassum Resilience. So I'm very happy to be here this afternoon to speak more to policy and the work that's being done in Barbados. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shelley Ann. Before going over to the presentations, I must say that I'm, as I said already, I'm very honored and privileged to be here today. It's my first time in Grenada. And Grenada is an island at my heart. They produce the best rum in the world. And they're known for their fishing. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, another word starting with F, finishing with ing at my heart. So, as all small islands in the Caribbean, we know how the threat of sargassum is on these on the fishing. So I'm very happy to be here to collaborate on this, and in order for us to come to solutions for that. So turning the tides on sargassum, coming together in order to be better environment in the region of the Caribbean. Mentioning that, I would like to start with the presentations and remind the panelists that the time is 4 minutes, and I don't know who can we pass the word to. Is there a specific? I would like to give the word to Mr. Rodrigo Castillo. Go ahead.
Perfect, thank you very much. If you allow me, I would like to switch to Spanish in order to make good use of my time. Bueno, muchas gracias a todos. Como les decía, hoy es un día muy importante en México, porque después de 200 años de historia de México, hoy tenemos la primera presidenta. Y con esta presidenta viene una agenda muy progresiva en temas medioambientales, enfocada en dos principales pilares. Una es la restauración y el saneamiento del medio ambiente en México. Ese es nuestro principal objetivo para la administración entrante, y justamente el sargazo juega un papel muy importante. Nosotros desde la Secretaría de Medio Ambiente que estamos justamente tomando hoy en día el puesto, la secretaria está tomando el puesto, por eso no puede estar el día de hoy acá en Granada, pero sí creo que es muy importante decirles que la visión que tenemos desde el Ministerio es que esta externalidad negativa que tiene un impacto en la economía, en la salud, en el medio ambiente evidentemente, y que está dañando el turismo, la pesca, los corales, es muy importante darle una nueva narrativa, y creo que ahí quiero hacer eco de las palabras que decía hoy el primer ministro Michels, ¿no? La perspectiva es muy importante, la forma en la que abordamos este tipo de problemas, y esta externalidad que es el sargazo, creo que es uno de los buenos ejemplos que tenemos en el mundo de cómo una externalidad negativa podemos convertirla en una oportunidad económica. En ese sentido, en México estamos impulsando digamos, desde diferentes sectores, del sector público, sector privado, las universidades, estamos impulsando una perspectiva o una atención integral. Las universidades, los centros de investigación están estudiando las propias propiedades del sargazo, el sector privado y los emprendedores están desarrollando modelos para desarrollar un tipo de productos que pueden ser bioenergía, pueden ser construcción, bioplásticos, y muy importante la visión que tenemos sobre el tema de los fertilizantes y los cosméticos. Para nosotros como México estos dos productos tienen una gran viabilidad, porque aparte nos permite a nosotros sustituir algún tipo de importaciones que hacemos por productos nacionales a partir del sargazo. Entonces tiene un impacto, y digamos que aparte al final de cuentas tiene un impacto en el medio ambiente, ¿no? Digamos, son puras sumas positivas al respecto. Lo que quiero decir con esto es que en México tenemos actores muy potentes. El turismo, como ustedes saben, en México es una industria muy importante. Tenemos actores muy importantes que están involucrados en esta solución. El gobierno está tomando un rol activo al respecto, y lo que nos ha permitido esto es una lección, ¿no? Cómo del sargazo podemos formar o construir alianzas estratégicas entre el sector privado y público para construir bienes públicos que van en beneficio de las sociedades, y particularmente cómo podemos desarrollar un modelo sustentable. y de economía circular. Déjenme rápidamente brincar a lo que hemos hecho con la Unión Europea, a quienes queremos agradecer muchísimo por todo el apoyo que han hecho. En julio hubo un seminario en Cancún, Quintana Roo, y justamente con el enfoque que se les dio en ese momento es ya, digamos, está sobrediagnosticado el tema del sargazo. Ya nosotros hemos o entendemos qué es lo que ha pasado o qué está pasando con el sargazo. Lo que queremos son acciones concretas, cómo podemos avanzar en una hoja de ruta. Y en ese sentido lo que salió de este seminario, bueno, fueron varias lecciones que algunas ya se han hablado aquí y algunos pasos que tenemos que seguir hacia adelante. Por ejemplo, el primero, el tema del monitoreo y la evaluación que se tiene que hacer sobre el sargazo. Me gustó mucho el panel anterior justamente porque eso es lo que a ese vamos el foco, ¿no? Creo que un buen ejemplo de ver el sargazo también es verlo como una commodity, es decir, cómo se desarrolla el sargazo, cuándo es el mejor momento para recolectar el sargazo y cómo podemos utilizar los nutrientes de acuerdo al estado en el que se encuentra el sargazo. Esa fue una de las lecciones que salieron de este seminario que creo que fueron muy importantes. Ignacio Muñoz previamente dijo también aquí y que también se retomó en este seminario el tema del mercado. Sí, voy terminando. El tema del mercado, la importancia de tener las commodities, de entender cuál es el valor del sargazo. Es muy importante también el scaling up de los business models, de los modelos de negocios, para que esto sea rentable, cómo lo podemos desarrollar, cómo lo podemos llevar a una perspectiva de desarrollo industrial, es fundamental. Y desde el lado de los gobiernos es fundamental dar la certeza jurídica que necesita el inversionista. En este caso, cuáles son los marcos normativos del sargazo y también cómo podemos facilitar el trámite y los permisos, ¿no? Una de las ideas que salió ahí justamente es crear una ventanilla única que ayude con todo el paperwork, con todos los trámites que se deben llevar adelante. Termino con esto que es bien importante, que es donde entra la Global Gateway, donde entran los bancos de desarrollo, los bancos, la iniciativa privada, los bancos privados y los fondos de inversión, que es cómo podemos encontrar instrumentos que sean propicios para desarrollar este tipo de estas industrias que tienen sus particularidades. El de-risking es muy importante para todas estas empresas, es muy importante para nosotros como país también encontrar acceso a este tipo de créditos, acceso a este tipo de fondos que puedan impactar y desarrollar, por supuesto, la industria. Y bueno, ahí lo dejo porque se me acabó el tiempo. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Mr. Castillo. And also congratulations with the new president, the female president in 200 years of Mexico, and a very progressive one, sustaining the development on combating the sargassum. Thank you. I will continue with Mrs. Stephanie Linton-Shields with her presentation, and I think she has a presentation
Stephanie Lind,
on
eine
the
Präsentation
screen.
auf dem Screen, auf dem Bildschirm.
So good afternoon again, everyone. I'll be presenting on communities and stakeholders' involvement in the drafting of Jamaica's Sargassum Management Response Strategy.
So, hier geht es einmal um das Management des Sargassums in Jamaika.
So like most Caribbean islands, Jamaica has an invasion in 2011 of Sargassum along its shoreline. It has been every single year coming, causing problems, creating problems along the shoreline. So because of that, we launched a campaign strategy in 2015, where we look on the several impacts across all sectors. So we are all aware of the environmental impacts, the social impact, as well as the economic impacts that Sargassum has caused in our nation. So in relation to the National Public Sensitization Campaign in 2015, this involves the local communities, especially communities that are largely dependent on the marine environment for income generation. We involve also the fisher folks because they are also impacted. Other groups such as tourism organization, association, other non-government organization, as well as government entity that are largely related to the protection and management of the environment. So through this sensitization campaign, the National Response Strategy was drafted. We also drafted a SARGASSUM guideline for the removal of sargassum along the beaches, because when you remove the sargassum, it can also create further problems. So the campaign, in terms of what was produced in the end, were local-led initiatives as well as national-led initiatives. For the local-led initiatives, there were information exchange between community groups. How is it that you guys are impacted? How is it that they can come about to be a part of the solution to this problem? Resource allocation in terms of removal where support is needed. Several shoreline cleanups of the beaches, for example, our priority beaches where the largely used for recreational activities by the public as well as tourism areas. Assist in terms of monitoring and reporting. Where is it sargassum, where it is seen, where it was exorbitant. Also, we had amended the general guidelines, that is, in terms of responding to sargassum, to make it more user-friendly. It is on the agency's website, that is the National Environment and Planning Agency, to further provide guidance in terms of how is it that sargassum can be removed, where it can be, if it can be buried, where it can be disposed of. In terms of national-led initiatives, this is where the government entities and other organizations comes about. In terms of NEPA, which is the National Environment and Planning Agency, it was led in terms of the implementation of this response strategy. We also conduct the public sensitization to the various communities and various groups. In terms of identifying areas, disposal site, this is where the National Solid Waste Authority comes into play. You have the Fisheries Division that organizes the Fisheries Group. You have also our research partners, which is the University of West Indies in Jamaica, through the Faculty of Science and Technology. You also have the Scientific Research Council. And this is where they, in terms of providing researches, what is it that sargassum can be used for? The Mono Geographic Institute at the University of West Indies, they had produced a software basically to give information, provide information to local communities where sargassum existed in terms of it as aid in fisher folks going out to the sea and all that, where its presence is. And the image below is a map that is on their website that persons can look at basically to get the relevant information of sargassum existence in the area. In terms of the way forward, what we're looking on right now is the formulation of a task force. It is a multi-agency approach where we will coordinate the sargassum waste to useful engineer solutions. We have been seeing several solutions that is being put forward to the agency, whether it's for agricultural use, whether it's for just general in terms of clean energy use. So we want to track and monitor some of these solutions because we don't want problems arising from these solutions, especially when it comes to the protection of the environment. Continued public sensitization, and this will involve the local community as well because they're largely involved in the monitoring and tracking of sargassum. Continued research because we know we have the heavy metal problems and that needs to be dealt with, especially when we talk about its use for agricultural purposes. Provide training and capacity building, the local communities in terms of removal, in terms of leveraging opportunities, especially when it comes to startup businesses, and to continue and foster partnership and collaboration for effective management of sargassum in Jamaica's environment. And this is an example of our advisory on the agency website when there's an abundance of sargassum. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Stephanie Linton-Shields. I will pass the word now to Ms. Judith Raming for her presentation.
Let's see if this works.
I think they're currently looking to put it on screen.
Let's hope so.
Any help here for getting it on the screen?
Okay, good afternoon. So I'm representing today Bonaire, which is a Dutch Caribbean island. And basically on Bonaire, I'm working for a nature organization called Stinapa. And the whole shoreline from the high water mark until 60 meters of water depth is also a protected nature park. This means that when we talk about sargassum, we're cleaning up sargassum mostly to protect our nature and not so much our tourism. Because if we look at the effect of sargassum on our island, it has an effect on windsurfing, but not that much on our tourism, more on our vibrant nature that we want to protect. What we see is every year we get more sargassum. And if you want to be successful in protecting your nature and also in your nature conservation, it's really important to use sargassum boom and to use extraction points so that you're also able to protect nature around sargassum. In 2021, Stinapa was able to sign a sargassum response plan in which the monitoring and also the cleanup of sargassum was directly mandated to Stinapa. We also then have gotten investment money from the Dutch and the local government to invest on everything that you see on the sheet and basically to go from manual cleanup yearly to clean up with the use of heavy equipment so that we can better the effectiveness of our cleanup of sargassum on Bonaire. Also in 2023, we spoke again with the government and we decided that there's also structural financial aid needed to be able to better the sargassum cleanup, but also to keep investing in the materials that you need to make sure that you better the effectiveness of your own approach when you talk about sargassum and the cleanup. So what do we see? Like every year, we see sargassum coming in, and the periods on Bonaire keep getting longer, and the influxes of sargassum keep getting higher. We're now dealing with this problem since 2018, and what we basically did is we also monitor scientifically, but also practically, what are we doing? How many days are we scooping? Because in 21 and 22 we scooped the sargassum, and in 23 and 24 we were able to use heavy equipment due to the investment made in sargassum. And that also shows your effectivity, because in 2022, from all the sargassum that was coming in, we were able to take just 5% out. But if we compare that with this year, you see that effectiveness due to heavy equipment went up to 80%. So with also bettering your sargassum approach, you also create a solid waste stream. And that's why we work together with the Wageningen University and Research in the BONCIRC project. Anna Lopez is also here to represent the university to see what we can do with this waste stream. We don't think we can do something maybe island-based, but region-wide. Let's see what the possibilities are. And then we think that in the long term, if we look at the approach that we're having, we're really talking about the reactive approach. Basically, we use our monitoring tools to see when sargassum is going to hit our island, and then we start the cleanup. And of course, that is an approach, but it's not a feasible approach. If you talk about a long-term approach, we think as Bonaire that you need to go to a preventive approach. So what does that mean? It means using your monitoring tools, because based on your monitoring tools, you already know which patches of sargassum are getting out of the Sargassum Sea and hitting your islands. Basically, we know if sargassum is at Trinidad and Tobago, we will have it on Bonaire in 2 weeks. So the thing is, if you know that, you can also set a solid framework and guidelines to discuss how you can harvest sargassum on sea. Because the Sargasso Sea is of use. It's important. We need to protect that. But the patches steering off of the Sargassum Sea, it isn't of use. It's hitting our islands and it's doing damage to our economics, our nature, and to our public health. So, and then of course it's also important to talk about disposal. How are you going to deal with all that sargassum that you're taking out? And in the meantime, what are we doing on Bonaire? We invest in our team because it's our rangers who are cleaning up the sargassum every day. And why are we doing that? To keep our vibrant nature alive, to make sure that we can use our own natural resources and our next generations to come as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judith. And it's a challenge to keep it in the minutes, but the presentation was clear, and we know how to proceed on the best practices presented by you. I will suggest now to go over to Dr. Shelley Ann Cox, to our online presenter, if she will be online in order to give her presentation. Go ahead, Dr. Shelley Ann. There she is. Dr. Shelley Ann, are you there?
Hear me?
Can you say something?
Können Sie mich hören?
Yeah. Hello?
Hallo?
Can you hear me?
Können Sie
You
mich
see it
hören?
screen?
It's frozen.
Der Bildschirm ist einmal eingefroren.
Can we move on then maybe within the room and come back to Dr. Shelley Ann? Yes, I suggest then for Mr. Honorary Jose Ramon Reyes to take over. I'm sorry. If you can, yes, go ahead, por favor.
Bueno, muy buenas tardes a todos. Hoy estamos discutiendo el fenómeno del sargazo, que como todos saben es una alga marina que está impactando gravemente la costa de la República Dominicana y el medio ambiente. Este problema ha generado un costo mensual de entre $30,000 a $100,000 mensuales solamente en la costa este, afectando grandemente la calidad de nuestras aguas y de nuestra biodiversidad marina. El gobierno dominicano, por su parte, ha implementado varias políticas y estrategias para abordar esta situación. Se han creado comisiones interinstitucionales, incluyendo recientemente el Gabinete de Lucha contra el Sargazo, creado por un decreto presidencial, que coordina los esfuerzos entre el sector público y el sector privado. A pesar de que no contamos con una ley específica sobre el sargazo, existen normativas relacionadas con la gestión costera y la protección ambiental que están guiando nuestras acciones. Recientemente, el gobierno dominicano acaba de entregar $1 millón a las universidades como donación para investigaciones por lo preocupante que es el problema. A nivel local, diversas comunidades y empresas privadas han llevado a cabo iniciativas exitosas, como son las instalaciones de barreras flotantes y el uso de los equipos de limpieza especializados. Estas acciones han permitido reducir significativamente el impacto del sargazo a nuestras playas turísticas y han generado también oportunidades económicas al involucrar a las comunidades en la recolección. Sin embargo, la gestión del sargazo está enfrentando para nosotros un gran desafío. La falta de financiamiento sostenible es uno de los principales obstáculos con los posibles impactos ambientales negativos que pueden surgir de alguna técnica de recolección. En el pasado se utilizaban camiones de 4 ejes, pala mecánica y al final pues no iba a salir remedio peor porque estaban erosionando nuestra playa. Concluimos con que es vital promover la economía circular, transformando el sargazo en un recurso valioso, en lugar de considerarlo como un residuo. Es crucial seguir invirtiendo en investigación para desarrollar tecnologías innovadoras y comprender mejor este fenómeno. También debemos establecer alianzas estratégicas con otros países y organismos internacionales, apoyando buena práctica y fomentando el diálogo entre todos los actores involucrados. Estos pasos son esenciales para construir un futuro más sostenible para nuestras costas. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, Honorario Señor Reyes. It was very good to hear about the best practices in Santo Domingo and also the effectiveness and limitation the current strategies bring in the sargassum issue on that item. I will now go back to our online virtual panelist, Dr. Shelly Ann Cox. Are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. We
Hello?
Yeah. Okay.
Can you see the screen as well?
I cannot. Yes, I can see.
Können Sie alle den Bildschirm sehen?
It is on.
Ja, ich kann die Präsentation sehen. Es ist auf dem Bildschirm.
Okay. Alrighty. Yes, in the interest of time, let's dive right in. My name is Shelly Ann Cox, Chief Fisheries Officer in Barbados. But before I worked on sargassum at the Center of Resource Management and Environmental Studies at CERMES, working with the team there, especially on forecasting, outreach.
Arbeite mit einem Team und
While
Voraussagen.
there, of course, we engaged with stakeholders in Barbados around the development of a sargassum adaptive management strategy.
Wir
And I'll talk a
versuchen,
little bit
Managementstrategien
about
zu entwickeln.
after setting the scene, of course, with the local context in Barbados. I'll speak about some of the
Ich werde über
advancements on the blue economy legislation
Erfolge
and
sprechen.
the research going into the development of a Sargassum Management Act. And then just a spotlight on the valorization initiatives, especially with a recent development and a launch from Rum and Sargassum Inc., which is very positive. So,
was eine positive
our
Eigenschaft
fisheries
ist.
sector was significantly impacted on the 1st of July And
yes,
over 240 boats damaged. You can see here some significant damage to the breakwaters and jetties. And, you know, after being in a situation as catastrophic like this, sargassum into the complex area. And this picture was taken about July 16th. So we had begun the removal of the vessels from the water, and then the sargassum came in. This week, we also had divers from the Coast Guard and other dive shops working to help float up the submerged boats. And it presented a really challenging environment. We know that sargassum does affect fishing positively and negatively, damage to gear, engines overheating, lost fishing days, and so on. This is well documented. But this presented a real challenge for us. But there's always a positive side to anything. Sargassum does, and we had lots of diesel and oil that would be in the area as well from the boats being damaged and sunken. Sargassum did exhibit those properties to be able to, you know, clean the lagoon in a sense. And we would have coordinated with our sargassum unit, and they deployed the sargassum harvester, which was able to help remove the seaweed and make sure that it was disposed of properly. So just wanted to share that story and the context of Barbados. And this map really gives a really good demonstration or illustration of, you know, the coast most impacted, or northeast to east south coasts, which are heavily impacted. You see that in the darker browns, and on the west coast in the gray. Our west coast tends not to have too many sargassum influxes. And you can see on top of this too, several of our fish landing sites dotted around the island, and our landing sites like Concept Bay, the older one, Skeets Bay, Martins Bay, very impacted by sargassum influences and people not being able to get access to their jetties. But it was good seeing this all in one shot because, you know, it overlays not only fisheries critical infrastructure, but benthic habitats, areas that are most significantly impacted as well, highlight some of our marine protected areas, and even on land, looks at some of the bird swamps. But even more interestingly, some of the major turtle nesting sites. So this, it was taken from Dega et al. 2022. It's products like these that are very informative for disaster risk response, being able to plan specific responses to this, even to be able to pre-position resources. And, you know, this, when we started the engagement with stakeholders, this was when it was working for the climate change adaptation for the Eastern Caribbean Fisheries Project back from 2017 to 2021. This sargassum adaptive management strategies, or SAMS we call for short, started, that would be under the then Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Blue Economy. And, you know, it was first developed with, you know, stakeholder input, as well as looking to see what the institutional structure would be for dealing with sargassum. We soon after had a state of emergency in 2018, where the military was actually activated to help with cleanup. And, you know, their input into reporting and monitoring the situation in terms of the quantities and so on also offered a good background for the development, and then the update to this 2023 version, which was then produced under the SARGASSUM project. And, you know, the first volume, you know, speaks to, you know, concepts around disaster risk response. The action appendices outlines, you know, several of the site profiles around the island, and looks at features, but also suggests what is the, you know, the best way to remove. And we have been focusing heavily on manual removal with our sargassum management unit. with persons, coordinator, coupled with persons physically raking and putting the sargassum, dispose, of course, sending it for compost and other things. But we also are participating now in the UNDP Japan project, which will see the procurement of equipment for more efficient harvesting. So I've included the link here for those who are interested in seeing that. We also have SAMs for other islands like St. Vincent, St. Kitts and Nevis, Grenada, and others. So that could be downloaded. But even more interesting than that was, again, around the...
Hello, Dr. Cox?
Yes, I have a minute.
1 minute.
Okay, all right. I'll say everything quite quickly. It's just that Barbados is, charting the path towards a Barbados Blue Economy legislative framework that is quite comprehensive, and work has begun on the research for a Sargassum Management Act. And then special emphasis, of course, in the SAMs is around valorization and exploring opportunities. So recently, Barbados, with the company rum and sargassum, I heard our moderator talk about Grenada with the best rum, but I'll let him know that Barbados has the oldest and best rum in the world. And it's interesting that the wastewater from the rum distilleries is used with sargassum and black belly sheep manure to form this compressed natural gas. And recently the first vehicle powered by sargassum was launched, and this was the 18th of September. There was support from the intergovernmental organization as well. Just to promote our latest innovations for sargassum resilience as well, that document, and to say that future considerations should take biorefinery approaches as well as establishment of regulatory guidelines.
Sorry to intervene, your time is up. Thank you very much. I hope you can stay for us to maybe answer some questions from the public. Once again, thank you. Round of applause for Dr. Shelly-Ann, which was our online presenter today. So we have all our panelists give their presentation. I would like now to open the floor. Are there any questions for the panelists here available? Yes, I see the lady over there. Can someone? Go ahead.
Hello, right,
yes.
Hi. Kemi Akinolo from the United Kingdom. Wonderful, really interesting presentations. Thank you, everybody. I'm wondering, because we've heard a lot about what the communities in the Caribbean countries have. I wonder if there's any role for the diaspora to support any of these initiatives or any future work that might be happening.
The question is for the diaspora? Okay, the diaspora of the Caribbean and abroad, are there any possibilities for them to help in helping combating the sargassum issue, I assume? That's anyone would like to take that? You did?
Yeah. So basically, I think that if you look at the Caribbean region, we're all dealing with the sargassum issue. And we're all really still dealing reactively. And if you look at bettering the situations for the island is looking for collaboration. Of course, we have our own cultures, our own traditions, we are a diverse region. But if you have these overarching, like diasporas, I don't know the name of it, but if you have like institutions that can help you with a more overarching approach, it it is important that you look for collaboration, but also that the organizations are important of what they're looking, are clear about what they're looking for. Because what you see is that there is a lot of funding available, but then the question is for the islands, how can we actually get that funding? What kind of frameworks are there in place? And if there are frameworks, please share them with the islands so that we can use them to create also a good proposal. A proposal that's also fitting for these organizations. Because what you see is that we're small communities, we're small islands. We don't have huge capacity, and sometimes we also lack certain competences that are required of us. And then it's seeking collaboration, but also being very clear in how you can help the islands to better their SARGASSUM approach.
Thank you, Judith. And if I may add to that, as a person from a small island myself, I had the same experience that we know as islanders know about it. Before you have the diaspora, you have also the brain drain, that our youngsters are going abroad to study, and it's difficult to get them back. I know of islands like St. Eustatius who actively have policies in place and attracting their people to come back to the island to help to build it back. So the brain gain in this way is also available on certain islands, and it may be an example for other islands to adapt and give opportunities for the youngsters studying abroad to specifically study in ways to adapt the environmental threats that we're encountering on the islands for the future. So that may be something that policymakers should take into consideration when sending their people to study abroad. That's my opinion on this matter. Are there any other questions in the audience? If that's not yes, I see a hand at the back. Sharon. The mic for the lady. Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Sharon Hassel. I'm from the island he just spoke about, St. Eustatius. I want to thank all the panelists for their contribution towards this important project. But I don't know whether it's, I think it's mainly a comment. I understand the difficulty, the danger, everything that is involved with regards to the sarcasm. I'm sorry if I'm murdering the name, the word, but are we also taking into account, Judith, you and I just had a discussion in regards to the life force that is living within these seaweeds or whatever the name is. Are we also, I'm not hearing anyone that is basically also talking about the proper way of handling and harvesting these sargassum on a normal basis, because when we start telling everyone there is a fee that you can have to harvest these things, what's going to happen is everyone's going to rake these things in. We have turtles, we have small marine fishes that is living in these things, and when you rake them up after a period of time, we're going to start saying, oh, we cannot see any more turtles, we don't see any more fishes. So when we're looking at this part of it, I think we should look at the whole form of it, and also put this as part of our discussion in the proper way of gathering and harvesting these sargassums. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Sargassum patches, I'm not a scientist, but I know as a fisherman that fish live underneath them. So who can elaborate on this, how to attend and handle when catching the sargassum at sea without affecting the other sea life that is food chain that is beneath the sargassum? Who can I give to react on this?
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Not in terms of the fishes that what Jamaica mostly deal with is when it is along the shoreline. It's already on the shore. So we do not let them remove it from the coastal areas because of those same problems. So it's the one that basically settled along the shoreline. We provide guidance because they're turtle nesting areas, right? As well as you can rake and remove the sand from the areas impacting natural habitats. So because of that, we have several guidelines. So we are there in terms of how to remove it. Do not use every metal, every machinery. As well as we also advise persons to bury the seaweed, but we can bury so much and so more. So this is where the ministry or the entity involved with solid waste collection comes and collects it and dispose it appropriately. But we recommend do not remove it from the water itself, just along the shoreline, because we do not want in terms of fishes that are trapped in it, that are feeding ground. It's a habitat area also, so we try to limit that as well.
Thank you. Mr. Castillo, can you elaborate on how is this being done in Mexico?
Sí, mira, el tema de la gestión del sargazo, aunque el tema viene desde 2011 y hay grandes avances al respecto, en realidad el tema de la gestión ha sido de reciente fecha, ¿no? Y algo que tenemos que hacer mucho los gobiernos, y sobre todo eso es parte de la cooperación que estamos tratando de hacer con el Caribe, es poner el framework, o sea, hacer los marcos legales de cómo se tiene que hacer este tipo de recolección. No existe. Justamente hay una preocupación, creo que señala muy bien el punto quien la pregunta en la audiencia. No existe ese marco normativo que nos diga justamente a nivel regional, digamos, a nivel regional me refiero al Caribe, cómo debe hacerse. Yo creo que lo que sí y lo que México está impulsando es aprender de las experiencias de los países que son, digamos, que en temas de pesca, que tienen pesca artesanal, digamos, que tienen ese cuidado justamente de cómo se debería hacer la recolección para no dañar justamente la biodiversidad del mar.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very much for the reaction. I look once again in the audience. Are any other questions? I see a hand in the back. Can the gentleman get a mic so he can ask his question?
Good afternoon. My name is Giso Boekhout from Aruba. I just heard that Bonaire uses information coming from Trinidad. We also use family information via WhatsApp or Facebook coming from Bonaire. Is there an intent or idea or a way that we can organize this in an either private partner or government working together so that we inform each other that there is an influx coming to harvest, to prevent, so going from responsive to prevention. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boekhout. Maybe for Judith.
Yeah.
And after that, I will add to something.
Yeah. No, so we're using actually a monitoring tool. And what we did when we started using the tool, we also asked if we could share information. And they said that we can, but if we look at the 6 Dutch islands, what would be very interesting is if we can see if we, with the use of those tools, also can work together. So basically, as a nature organization, it's you get it's more easy to get cooperation also from private companies which have those monitoring tools. I know that they're willing to discuss it, so I think this is something for us to discuss further. But regionally, if you really work together and you also have the same needs, we all have the needs of monitoring. We know that if the sargassum comes to Bonaire, it goes to Curaçao, it goes to Aruba. So basically, why not work together? But when we asked, a couple of years back. Also, the islands weren't there yet. And on Bonaire, because we have the Sargassum in the base, it meant that we had to do something. So we started it up, but we would love to share actually the information better and also to work together, especially if you talk about a preventive approach.
Thank you, Judith. And if I may add to that, I know, as a matter of fact, this was also mentioned in previous panel, the word Copernicus. Maybe some of you don't know, but it's one of the space program of the European Union on mapping, monitoring things like Sargassum. If we all recall, it was in May this year that we had an oil spill in Trinidad and Tobago, and it was menacing the coast of Venezuela and also our 3 islands. We reached out to Copernicus, and they provided us daily monitoring services and how this oil slick was coming to the island. I think the same can be done for the Sargassum, and I suggest the nature foundations of the islands to work together. I know for a fact this information is for free if you request it at Copernicus, and they provide it by the hour, by the minute, or whatever you like, free of charge. So I might suggest get together and in order to present a platform in order to get this information, in order to get the correct way to prevent it. And I see that the sign that we have to stop, and I would like to thank very much all panelists for their contribution, and give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that we learned a lot today and put it in practice for the better of our own environment on the islands. Oh, señor Reyes.
Lo que sí que le pido que cuando estemos allá abajo tenemos que discutir lo de la calidad del ron, porque en República Dominicana tenemos excelente ron.
Sorry, I didn't get it. ¿Una vez?
Que tenemos que discutir lo del ron, el ron.
Ah, sí, sí, sí.
Sí, porque en República Dominicana...
Ron y pesca, ¿no?
Tenemos buen ron.
Santo Domingo también tiene buen ron.
Gracias.
I heard Barbados as well. Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Okay, thank you also for our online panelists for her contribution. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Edison Regina, for hosting or moderating this panel discussion. At this time, we take a 10-minute break, get refreshed. We have coffee and cookies, sugar outside. Yeah? Somebody raised their eyebrows. We have cookies outside, so please get refreshed and get some sugar in you, and we'll return with our final session for today, and I will beg my moderators to keep it moving, all right? We want to have we want to drink some cocktails later, so. policies, strategies, and action plans at the regional level. And it's happening right here in the Crown Ballroom. Our moderator for this session is Mr. Ignacio Banez. My Spanish is working this afternoon. All right, Mr. Ignacio is Special Envoy on Small Island Developing States at the European External Action Service. Panels, the panelists. All right. On our first panelist, Yuri De Vries, Senior Policy Officer and SARGASSUM Focal Point. Our next panelist, Mr. Milton Houghton, Mr. Milton Houghton, Executive Director, Caribbean Fisheries Mechanism Secretariat in Belize. Mr. Francis Etienne, Ambassador of France in St. Lucia. Yeah, that's him. We met, we have the same name, so. All right. Dr. Jamie Ortega, Scientific Director in Chile. Yes? All right. And finally, we have Mr. Oscar Quesada, Advisor of the Executive Directorate of the General Secretariat, El Salvador. I feel like they gave me a test. They're testing my Spanish today. All right, so welcome to the stage and take it away. And final panelist will be joining us online, Honorable Sylvie Deflo, Vice President of the Departmental Council for Guadeloupe.
Okay, good afternoon to all of you. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. As I was presented, I'm the Special Envoy on seeds. This in the EIS, which is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the EU. It's a new position that was created only 1 year ago. And so I'm the first Special Envoy on seeds in the EU, and it's really a position which shows that the interest of the EU to have a very close relation, or to increase even our relationship with the seeds. Of course, the seeds in the three regions of the seeds, in the Pacific, in the Atlantic, Indian Ocean and South China Sea, and of course in the Caribbean. And for this reason, I'm really very happy to be able with all of you here today, in this afternoon, because and to show that whenever there is a concern in the seeds countries, the EU reacts and tries to help the countries, especially the seeds, to be able to find solutions. But of course, this we have to be doing together, all of us. And this panel is going to follow, I think, very naturally the previous one, in which where we were concentrating on national responses to this issue, and this time we are going to go much more to the regional ones. And we have an excellent group of experts that I will be giving the floor one after the other, and they will be contributing to the discussion today. And after, we will have, of course, a little bit of time for some questions from the public, with the limitation, of course, of the time. So I will start from the first of our panelists, which is Yuri De Vries, who is a policy officer from the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Quality and Nature of the Netherlands, and he's an expert on SARGASSUM within the Cartagena Convention, which is, of course, an important instrument. So, Yuri, you have the floor for a little bit more than 4 minutes, around 4 minutes.
Yes, thank you so much. I did have a presentation. How does it work? Yes. Let me stand there so I can see the screen. Yeah, I was already too optimistic that it would work in one go with me. How does this work? Sorry? Yeah? Yes. Well, I can start in the meantime, if that's in the interest of time. Well, my slides were not that complex anyway. So, under the United Nations Environment Program, there is the Regional Sea Program, which is the... Yes. Yeah? Okay. Down. Up, down. Yes. So the Cartagena Convention is the convention for the wider Caribbean region, which consists of the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean Sea, and part of the North Brazil Shelf. And it manages the Caribbean Environment Program, which is a regional sea program under the United Nations Environment Program. Under the Cartagena Convention, there are 3 protocols: the Oil Spills Protocol, the LBS Protocol, which stands for Land-Based Sources of Marine Pollution, and the SPA Protocol, which stands for the Especially Protected Areas and Wildlife Protocol. As you can see below, it covers the entire Caribbean, and the convention area basically goes a little bit east of the Eastern Caribbean, and there it drops off. So the mandated area of the Cartagena Convention basically covers the EEZs of the Caribbean countries and a bit of the waters to the east. Very shortly, some key events over the past years. In 2019, at the COP15 meeting, the contracting parties of the Cartagena Convention requested the Secretariat to take a stronger role to enhance regional collaboration on SARGASSUM. Following that, the Cartagena Convention Secretariat participated, amongst others, in the International SARGASSUM Conference on Guadeloupe, which ultimately led also to the signing of the Caribbean Cooperation Program against Sargassum, SARC-COOP. In that period, also a Sargassum working group was established with participants of all the contracting parties to find out what are the management needs of the various contracting parties with regards to Sargassum. That focused mostly on management efforts on Sargassum inundations. In the previous Conference of Parties last year in Aruba, again the necessity of enhanced collaboration on Sargassum was stressed by the contracting parties. That led, amongst others, to the reactivation or the re-establishment of the Sargassum Working Group, and to the very recent initiative of them to do a survey amongst all contracting parties to again find out what are the management needs of all the contracting parties with regards to Sargassum. Some of the findings from that survey is that there's a need that the contracting parties highlighted a need for harmonized policy, enhanced monitoring of Sargassum as well as the impacts of it, and awareness raising and communication, amongst others. Also, what was highlighted was that Sargassum is a problem for the Caribbean region, but it's actually an Atlantic occurrence. So one of the things also that the Cartagena Convention Secretariat has done over the past months is to do joint seminars, I believe, webinars, with the Abidjan Convention. The Abidjan Convention is a regional sea program for the western side of Africa. To really, also with that area, to exchange experiences, but to also try and lift up this issue from a purely Caribbean issue to an Atlantic-wide issue. Some key events of this year include the 4th SITS conference in May and the SARC Action in June. And of course, this meeting here, where also the program manager of the SPA protocol is present, Ms. Susanna. Oh, the wrong one again. Yes. Some of the knowledge products, and I rushed through it a bit in the interest of time, some of the knowledge products that were developed was the SARGASSUM white paper, which very much is at the basis of a lot of these discussions. Turning the crisis into an opportunity, which also has become the slogan of this initiative here, I believe. It was developed together with various regional organizations, such as UWI, SERMIS, and I believe also some others. Some other knowledge products are posters, there were videos. It was very much focused on helping the Caribbean islands in managing the sargassum when it reaches the shore. So in the context of the Cartagena Convention, it is never mentioned, it is never phrased as such that there is an issue with sargassum, but it's always phrased in the sense that there is an issue with sargassum inundations. And I think that's a very important part to stress, as the decisions of the Cartagena Convention are always very much focused on that. Another initiative over the past year is that also the combination within the Cartagena Convention between the LBS protocol and the SPA protocol has been enhanced to not just look at it from a biodiversity perspective, but to also look at it with the side of land-based source of marine pollution, to really have the interaction between eutrophication and the impact that it has on the biodiversity. The working group activities, like I just said, there has been a survey. Actually, I went faster than I thought. So the working group has been working together with the nutrient management in order to look at it more holistically. I think I took the 4 minutes quite serious, so I'm already done.
Thank you very much. This is excellent use of the time, which is, of course, important. Thank you. Of course, we will have time after the questions. I'm sure that the Cartagena Convention is an important instrument for this cooperation. So we will move to our second panelist, which is Sylvie Gustave Duflo, Vice President of the Parliamentary Council for Guadeloupe, who joins us virtually. Sylvie, I think that you are here with us.
Yes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can I have...
Yeah, maintenant on vous voit.
Très bien, super.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir. Est-ce qu'on peut faire dérouler le diaporama, s'il vous plaît?
On va essayer. I don't know if we can see the presentation. Vous allez l'introduire vous-même ou c'est à partir d'ici qu'on doit vous faire la présentation?
Je vais l'introduire moi-même. Simplement, je ne vois pas la présentation. Est-ce qu'ils peuvent faire un partage en visioconférence?
Oui, normalement ça devrait être comme ça. Je vois les techniciens qui cherchent une solution.
Alors, je sais que le temps est vraiment court. S'il n'y a pas de solution immédiate, on peut faire passer un panéliste et me reprogrammer après si c'est nécessaire.
Parfait. Bien, allez-y. Vous pouvez partager l'écran vous-même?
Oui, alors oui, je peux partager l'écran.
Parfait.
Je vais partager l'écran.
Très bien. On le voit maintenant pas encore comme présentation, mais on le voit.
Très bien.
Alors, c'est juste en bas à droite. Enfin, chacun a son système. Parfait. Maintenant, on le voit. Allez-y.
Très bien. Merci beaucoup à l'Union européenne, au gouvernement de la Grenade et à l'OCS d'avoir invité la région Guadeloupe à faire cette présentation. Et donc, la région Guadeloupe travaille sur la gestion des algues sargasses sur ses côtes. Alors, on le sait que depuis 2011, en fait, ça a été vraiment une étape déterminante puisque les chercheurs indiquent bien, que c'est à partir de 2011 que nous avons pu voir arriver ces échouements massifs d'algues sargasses et ces échouements ont entraîné la naissance de la petite mer de sargasses, mais surtout des zones réservoirs et producteurs de sargasses qu'on va retrouver dans le golfe du Mexique, au niveau de l'Amazonie et au niveau du fleuve Congo. En ce qui concerne la France est impactée au titre de ses territoires d'outre-mer qui comportent l'île de Saint-Martin, la partie française, l'île de Saint-Barthélemy, l'archipel de la Guadeloupe et l'archipel de la Martinique. Et pour ce faire, le gouvernement français a établi des plans nationaux de gestion, un plan numéro 1 de 2018 à 2022 qui a coûté 24 millions d'euros et un plan numéro 2 qui est actuellement en cours et qui coûte 37 millions d'euros. L'idée était de venir en aide aux différents territoires français pour les aider à collecter et à valoriser au mieux les algues sargasses. Nous sommes, bien évidemment, la région Guadeloupe s'est inspirée, a bâti sa stratégie avec ce plan national sargasse français, mais nous avons décidé d'aller plus loin. Donc, la région Guadeloupe développe une stratégie locale qui, comme vous pouvez le voir, cette stratégie locale, c'est du financement que la région apporte pour aider les municipalités à faire face à la collecte et à la valorisation de ces algues sargasses. La région Guadeloupe aide également beaucoup le secteur économique, les hôtels, les activités nautiques, les activités de pêche qui sont très fortement impactées. Et au moment où je vous parle, nous sommes en train d'élaborer un service public pour la gestion des algues sargasses, un service public qui permettrait à la fois de déployer des dispositifs vraiment d'envergure, comme des barrages déviants ou encore des engins amphibies. À côté de cette stratégie locale, la région Guadeloupe mène une stratégie internationale parce que nous avons très vite compris que cette gestion des algues sargasses ne pouvait être faite uniquement sur les côtes de la Guadeloupe, mais que nous devions également envisager de la coopération régionale. Et c'est pour cela que nous avons monté le programme Interreg SARCoupe. Et dans ce programme Interreg SARCoupe que je vais développer un peu plus loin, à côté, nous avons également lancé un appel national de recherche SARGASSUM. Nous avons également en 2019 lancé un salon international d'exposition pour les entreprises destiné à mettre en avant les nouvelles technologies en matière de collecte et de valorisation des sargasses. Et notre stratégie internationale nous a conduit de manière totalement naturelle à élaborer avec le gouvernement français une initiative sargasse internationale. Alors, en ce qui concerne le programme SARCoupe 2, SARCoupe, pardon, Vous avez ici un petit peu les role packages sur lesquels nous avons travaillé. Ce programme SARGASSUM qui allait de 2019 à 2024 pour un montant de 3 millions d'euros. Et nous avons cherché en fait à mettre en œuvre cette coopération régionale. Et nous avons également nous avons essayé de monter un groupe de clusters pour partager une plateforme de communication autour des sargasses. Nous avons aussi tenté de mettre en place un réseau de la qualité de l'air, puisque seuls les territoires français aujourd'hui ont vraiment un regard sur l'impact sanitaire de l'émanation de ces gaz de décomposition de ces algues sargasses. Et donc, aujourd'hui, nous avons à côté de nous, Cuba, le Mexique, Sainte-Lucie et Tobago qui ont accepté qu'on puisse déployer des capteurs qui captent l'hydrogène sulfuré et l'ammoniac sur leur territoire. Nous avons également travaillé sur des dispositifs d'anticipation de ces échouements. Et enfin, nous nous sommes rendus compte qu'il y avait un énorme volet à l'international à mettre en œuvre sur ces algues sargasses. En 2025, nous allons lancer le programme Interreg SARGASSUM 2. Il sera autour de 5 millions d'euros. Et en plus de tout ce que nous avons fait, beaucoup de nos partenaires nous ont demandé de rajouter la collecte et la valorisation dans ce second programme SARGASSUM 2, ce qui sera fait. En ce qui concerne l'appel à projet recherche SARGASSUM que nous avons mené avec l'Agence nationale pour la recherche, vous voyez ici l'ensemble des thématiques qui ont été explorées de 2019 à 2023. 12 consortiums, 12 équipes internationales ont été labellisées et ont reçu 8 millions d'euros, en fait, pour pouvoir développer de la recherche dans toutes ces catégories. Nous pensons également en 2025 lancer un nouvel appel à projet SARGASSUM. C'est un appel à projet international puisque sur le premier appel à projet, nous avons été accompagnés par des agences nationales de la recherche du Brésil comme le FACEPS et le FAPEPS, en plus des collectivités locales françaises.
Oui, vous devrez vous rapprocher vers la conclusion.
Oui, je termine. Tout cela pour vous dire que tout cela nous a conduit donc à lancer l'initiative internationale Sargass en 2023 à la COP climat à Dubaï, avec différents composants que vous pouvez voir ici, qui est en fait de renforcer la coopération régionale, de fédérer les États impactés pour parler d'une seule voix et de pouvoir monter des projets d'envergure, que ça soit dans le domaine scientifique ou autre, autour de ces sargasses. Aujourd'hui, voici les pays que nous avons fédérés autour de cette initiative française et que nous continuons également à fédérer. Alors, les prochaines étapes que nous allons prendre, donc, c'est continuer à fédérer ces États de la Caraïbe impactés dans l'initiative française. Nous souhaitons porter une résolution à l'ONU en septembre 2025 sur les sargasses. Nous allons lancer le programme SARGASSUM 2 et l'appel à projet SARGASSUM en 2025. Nous continuons à travailler, nous avons décidé de travailler avec l'UICN pour pouvoir définir une identité biologique de ces échouements. Et bien évidemment, nous pensons qu'il faut des expéditions océanographiques d'envergure pour pouvoir bien comprendre ce phénomène. Merci de votre attention.
Merci beaucoup à vous. It was an excellent example of regional cooperation, so thank you very much. We move to our next panelist, Milton Houghton, Executive Director of Caribbean Fisheries Mechanism, the Secretariat in Belize. Milton, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So the CRFM is a regional organization. It's a part of CARICOM. There are 17 states that are parties to the CRFM. Now, SARGASSUM, sorry, let me take this off. Sargassum is a very important marine algae. It is a natural part of the marine ecosystem, and it has been there forever. But in 2011, something changed. And we're seeing these massive, massive blooms. And the reason for those blooms, I think, is as important as the blooms, especially if we're thinking long-term about what is going to happen. It's important to note that we are seeing a bloom, we're seeing increasing blooms, not only in Sargassum, but in other marine algae as well. So we have heard, I think all of us would have heard of the harmful algal blooms that have been taking place. Red tides, for example. So globally, we're seeing a trend of blooms and inundation of marine algae, and some quite harmful. It's very important that we remember always, as one of the participants in the audience pointed out, that Sargassum is a natural ecosystem and very important in its context, where it used to be before it starts coming across and beaching in the volumes that we have been experiencing over the past 14 years now. So it is very important that we keep this in mind. The fact of the matter is, it is a transboundary issue. It is affecting all of us in the wider Caribbean region, to varying degrees and differing extent, but it is impacting all of us. And so this panel is focused on regional actions, regional collaboration. And it is indispensable, in my opinion, to work together in a collaborative manner to address this common challenge that we have. There are many challenges associated with Sargassum, and we have heard a lot about these since morning. On the slide, I have noted just some of the big challenges, the impact on marine habitat, ecosystems, and species, especially in the coastal waters, because in the open ocean, where the Sargassum is usually found before 2011, it grows, it nourishes and shelters a whole range of marine organisms, fish and others, and it dies and falls to the ocean bottom and is a part of the natural cycle. But in our coastal waters and on our beaches, it's a different problem. And it's impacting our tourism industry, our fisheries, as well as our coastal marine ecosystems that are already under severe stress from climate change, ocean acidification, pollution, etc. So it's quite detrimental. It's also impacting on coastal communities. We just heard about the problems with the toxic gases, hydrogen sulfide, ammonia, also methane gas is released, a very powerful greenhouse gas. But there's also an additional threat to human health, and it's their mental health. Those who live in the coastal areas, in bays that is inundated and filled with rotting, decaying Sargassum, and the smell comes right across, into their homes, and they cannot get away. It's very difficult, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, it's a problem. And we haven't paid much attention to those things, unfortunately. Our main focus has been on the economic impacts and mitigating, minimizing, reducing the economic impacts. But I think going forward, and especially with the trend, which seems to be, since 2011 until now, it's an increasing trend. A steady but increasing trend in blooms and inundations. I mean, we don't always get the inundations. I mean, it's seasonal, and the areas where beaches vary from year to year. But it's a growing problem, and I think we really need to deal with it. Now, from the beginning of the problem, we have had significant regional level engagement, and governments have been working with regional organizations like ours, CRFM, but many others, to discuss the issue, to try and figure out what is going on, why this is happening, and what can we do. And so for the CRFM, the CRFM had a ministerial council meeting in the Bahamas in 2012, June 2012, and SARGASSUM was a major item on the agenda of that meeting. And the ministers, like their constituency and the fisherfolk, were very concerned and disturbed about what is happening and the negative impact the SARGASSUM was having on their communities. And the council basically wanted to find out what is going on, why is this happening, what impact is it having, and what can we do. We then took the problem, we then took the problem to the United Nations. Every year there's a debate and discussion on, and a resolution on fisheries. And we had a paragraph inserted in the resolution dealing with fisheries, which you see there, just highlighting our concerns and calling on the international community to help us deal with the SARGASSUM issue, because it's a major problem. We developed a model regional protocol to manage the accumulations of SARGASSUM. And this model has been used by several of our countries to develop their own national action plans or management plans, as the case may be. We also developed model legislation dealing with one of the specific issues that we were facing, that is absence of certain species, certain specimen of dolphin fish, the large ones, and a lot of juveniles, and the fishers in the early stages started catching a lot of juveniles, which of course is not good. So the council adopted model legislation to protect the dolphin fish. There are a lot of instruments, regional instruments, that I think can assist us in managing the SARGASSUM, and some were mentioned by you, so I would go over it again, but I just mentioned the CARICOM Environment and Natural Resource Policy. It's a recently adopted policy, the Caribbean Community Common Fisheries Policy. And let me also mention that in many of our countries, our national fisheries legislation actually define SARGASSUM as fish, or fishing includes harvesting not only finfish, but also marine algae, marine plant, which would include SARGASSUM. So there's a national framework already for some action to regulate the harvesting and management of SARGASSUM. I'm wrapping up now. So, but looking forward, we do need more comprehensive policy and legislation to deal with the issues and the challenges and the priorities, the goals that we want to achieve with respect to SARGASSUM. So environmental protection, fundamental. Innovation and economic utilization. It is, SARGASSUM at the end of the day is one of thousands of marine living resource that we have available to us. And even though we have not been using it, we focus on a few species, but at the end of the day, SARGASSUM is just like one of the thousands of marine species that we have available and can be utilized to generate economic activities and benefits for community. We also have to pay attention to protecting the health of not only the marine ecosystems in the coastal areas, but also the public health, people's health, from the challenges we have heard over and over again with respect to the heavy metals and also the toxic gases that are released. So there are a number of things that I think we need to include in a regional policy, regional legislation, model as the case may be, to guide and to provide best practice for countries to follow in implementing at the national level. So it needs to address monitoring and early warning systems, which we have developed very nicely, governance and oversight, regional and international cooperation, involvement of our communities and our people, some who are often overlooked, including taking into account equity issues, gender, youth, etc., and research and development. Anything we do with SARGASSUM, we must be guided by scientific evidence. And that has, I think, been guiding us at the regional level and at the national level after some early missteps. But research and innovation is critical, in my opinion, in utilizing SARGASSUM and in managing the problem effectively. And the beach cleanup, funding and incentive that you have heard about, those are some of, in my opinion, some of the critical issues that we need to address in regional policy or legislation going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Milton. Very clear appeal for the cooperation, the regional cooperation, but of course also with good examples of things we have been already done. We move now to Oscar Quesada, advisor of the Executive Directorate of the General Secretary of SICA in El Salvador. Oscar, you have the floor.
Gracias. Perdón, ¿me permiten para la presentación? Muy buenas tardes, disculpen, voy a hablar en español. Vamos a ver si ya la... Listo. Primero voy a comentar que vengo de Costa Rica, no hacemos tan buen ron, pero podemos ser un buen juez. ¿Ok? Entonces, eso es importante. Quiero comenzar diciendo que el sistema de la integración centroamericana es un mecanismo formal de integración constituido por 8 Estados miembros, dentro de los cuales 2 ya han intervenido hoy, Belice y República Dominicana, y en la sala también están varios de los Estados miembros del sistema de la integración, que van desde Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, República Dominicana, Panamá, Belice y República Dominicana. Y esta composición es importante. ¿Por qué? Porque no todos los países tienen el mismo nivel de afectación por las arribaciones del sargazo, pero además tampoco tienen o han desarrollado o se han involucrado tanto en el abordaje del tema. Y eso quiere decir que hay un gran potencial regional del intercambio de experiencias y conocimientos en el ámbito del SICA. Pero si potenciamos el SICA con el CARICOM y con otras instancias regionales de trabajo, estamos potenciando aún más la capacidad de la región. Pero específicamente, ¿qué ha hecho el SICA? El SICA ha trabajado y ha enfocado el tema del sargazo a partir de una decisión política, una decisión de la instancia de mayor nivel del sistema, que es la reunión de jefes de Estado y de Gobierno del sistema. A partir de ahí, con la ayuda de la Unión Europea, se hicieron estudios sobre el impacto de las arribaciones del sargazo en cada uno de los 8 Estados miembros. Están disponibles si alguien los quiere en algún momento consultar, pero además hay un estudio de síntesis regional, se hizo un mapeo de buenas prácticas y se está en el proceso de establecer alianzas estratégicas. Y sobre esa base del análisis técnico, entonces se está haciendo una propuesta de abordaje basada en una hoja de ruta regional. Y aquí el mandato de los jefes de Estado y de Gobierno, que fue promovido por República Dominicana y Belice en el seno de la reunión de los presidentes. Pero ¿qué es lo interesante del sistema? que podemos tener un abordaje intersectorial. ¿Por qué? Porque tenemos consejos de ministros por sectores que se pueden convocar y trabajar en forma articulada ante situaciones como la del sargazo. Desde el nivel de los presidentes, el sector ambiental, el sector turismo, el sector pesca, pero está también el sector portuario, agrícola, también el de pequeña y mediana empresa. O sea, la posibilidad de articulación regional va con bastante fuerza si unimos a todos estos sectores. Por ejemplo, está el mecanismo de Ospesca, similar al que nos presentaban del CARICOM, y que trabajando juntos pueden potenciar o generar más sinergias a nivel regional. Y básicamente, ¿qué tiene esta hoja de ruta? Bueno, tiene como objetivo fortalecer la capacidad de la adaptación regional al impacto del sargazo mediante el desarrollo e implementación de iniciativas de manejo compartidas y eficientes que promuevan la disposición adecuada y el uso alternativo y la gestión sostenible del sargazo en las costas. 3 elementos. 1, creación de entornos propicios. La integración regional tiene un gran potencial. Por ejemplo, en el ámbito económico-comercial, los países que forman parte de la integración económica tienen un mercado integrado de más de 14.000 millones de dólares de comercio intrarregional, ¿verdad? Y si metemos acá la cadena de valor del sargazo, ¿qué pasa? Que ese entorno propicio ha establecido reglamentaciones, prácticas, corredores logísticos que podían contribuir al tratamiento del tema del sargazo. Pero también, por ejemplo, tenemos un mercado eléctrico regional donde se han coordinado inversiones también por cerca de 500 millones de dólares entre toda la región, y que también son ejemplos concretos de cosas que se pueden hacer en forma conjunta. Y cuando hablamos del desarrollo de cadenas de valor regional, esto también añade al sistema, es un valor añadido, un valor agregado de la integración regional, ¿verdad? ¿Cómo podemos participar en diferentes procesos de la cadena? ¿Ok? Y cuando hablamos, perdón, me devuelvo un momento al de entornos propicios, recordemos que también es responsabilidad velar por la salud, velar por el ambiente, ¿verdad? Pero avanzar también hacia estos procesos positivos que se han hablado. Y ni qué decir en el ámbito de la investigación e innovación, que hoy se han demostrado muchos casos que podemos potenciar y que queremos llevarnos también del Caribe para Centroamérica, pero también hay iniciativas de Centroamérica que pueden contribuir a lo que se está haciendo y al desarrollo de información. En síntesis, ¿qué está puesto sobre la mesa? Un plan de acción que impulsa la capacitación e información pública. Hay que sensibilizar, porque mencionaba que no todos los estados tienen el mismo nivel de impacto en este momento, pero podrían llegar a tener diversos niveles de impacto. Las alianzas intergubernamentales, público-públicos y públicas-privadas. Por ejemplo, a nivel del ámbito regional tenemos una alianza entre las empresas del sector turístico con los gobiernos, una empresa que promueve conjuntamente el turismo de la región a nivel internacional. Es un ejemplo de alianza público-privada con enfoque regional. El fortalecimiento de los marcos normativos, mecanismos de participación social, se ha dicho mucho el tema de las comunidades, el tema de la coordinación activa, y aquí lo tenemos como parte de esta hoja de ruta, una participación y coordinación activa entre SICA, la Asociación de Estados del Caribe, CARICOM, y finalmente una red de gestión del conocimiento. ¿Qué estamos haciendo con todo este conocimiento que está surgiendo acá? De las buenas y de las malas experiencias, ¿verdad? En esto hay acciones transversales y queremos aprovechar este evento también para la coordinación activa SICA, Asociación de Estados del Caribe y CARICOM. Muchas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, Oscar. Very good example of the cooperation of SICA, but also SICA cooperating with other regions, which of course is very, very important. We will move now to Jaime Ortega, who is from the Copernicus LAC Chile office. Jaime, you have the floor.
this work? Okay, firstly, thanks for the invitation. It's really nice to be here. I come from Chile, far away from here. We don't have sargassum in Chile, but we have something called Widow. Widow is an algae. It's a very good enterprise for several people. The last year, Chile exported more than 600,000 tons of Widow with $1.2 billion of business. For that reason, the algae could be a problem, could be not a problem, could be a nice work. Okay. Also, I'm going to say thanks to the last talk, because in the last talk somebody talked about Copernicus. I'm going to press down. Or this other way. Too much technology. To that computer. Okay. Oh. Okay. For firstly, thanks. I came from Copernicus Lake Center. I'm going to talk, which is Copernicus, which is Lake Center. I'm the scientific director of this initiative, which is part of the Global Gateway. What is Copernicus? Copernicus is a big European satellite program, maybe the biggest of the world. The main idea of this program is to put in the air several satellites with different sensors looking at the Earth. Okay, but with one important thing: everything is free, everything is open. Everybody can use the image without a small letter, without contract. It's completely free. This is the first thing. And there are some interesting satellites which are multispectral, radar, climate, and several different. And some of them are looking at the ocean source. This is very important. But Copernicus is not so only satellite. There are services called marine service, the land service, land monitoring service, which are maps that the people can use freely from a web page. Okay. Well, what is this Copernicus Center? Well, in one moment, the European Commission say it could be good if we can put some centers in Latin America, because Latin America is a partnership which is interesting for the European Union. In this sense, the European Commission decided to put two centers, one in Panama and the other in Chile. And the main idea is to improve the use of Copernicus, improve the use of the image. Okay? Our center was started the last year with the visit of the Vice President of the European Commission, Ms. Margaret Vestager, in March of the last year. And which are the service, or which are the mission of this Copernicus Center? We have some things in common with our brothers in Panama. For instance, will be a hub of image. We have all the image of Copernicus, which have part of Latin America locally. That means we don't need to download the image from Europe. We can use directly here in Latin America. This implies a lot of time that we can obtain. We can win a lot of time in those things. The other things, we are preparing some virtual machines. We will have. The main idea is, as we will have the image, we will put also virtual machines that you connect, and you don't need to download the image. You can process all your image directly and only download the results. This is very good. I hope that this will be ready in the next month and will be, at the moment, free and open for all the community. When I talk the community, I'm talking about Latin American Caribbean. Okay? And something very important. When I have a lot of time working in satellite image, and the question is how we must believe to something which is to 700 kilometers highness. Well, how the sensor of this place can give me something. For that reason, the unique way to see that the satellite measure the thing that they say is to have in situ data. We need to calibrate. And for that reason, it's very important that all this community, you and me and our friends, can share the information, can share the data. And in this way, we are trying to create a community to share the in situ data for different applications. Okay? But as I told you, we have some services. Copernicus is not only image, it's our services. And in this sense, we launched a few months ago 2 services. The land use and land cover map. These kind of maps are very important for urban planification, for planning in different applications, agriculture. You want to see what happened with forests. The forests are changing or no. This map have different colors, and each color implied one thing different. One color for the forest, one color for the cities, one color for the water, and you can see what happened with this dynamic of the land. This is something. And there are several of these of the kind of maps in Latin America, but in general, and also there are some prepared for ESA or for other people in Europe, but the main idea is to try to construct together, when I say together, say again, all the community of Latin America and Caribbean, a map for us. The thing that we want is a construction of this map. And also, urban atlas. Urban atlas is similar, but it's monitoring the cities. These services are very well implemented in Europe, but we don't have something in Europe, in Latin America. We have these maps launched a few months ago, and we are working now in a third service, this marine service. Okay, this is the connection with SARGASSUM. The main idea is to monitoring what happened with our coast. But the main question again is we need to create and measure what we want, what we need, not only the typical one. For that reason, SARGASSUM is one is an interesting thing in which we are thinking that. Okay. Well, why satellite images are useful? Okay. Well, firstly, there are a lot of constellations of satellites. The people maybe have heard about Landsat, Sentinel, MODIS, and different satellites. Well, the satellite sites are constructed to see the land or the sea, but with different applications. For that reason, they take a picture, but not only a picture in the sense of Google Earth. Okay? The main idea is when you think there is a multispectral satellite, Sentinel-2 for instance, the main idea is this satellite take 13 different pictures. But these pictures are looking at different things in different languages. Okay? And for that reason, the main idea is this kind of tool help us to detect where is SARGASSUM. Okay? For instance, when we want to detect something in the surface, there is something called a spectral signature. It's a kind of digital fingerprint of each material. Okay? For that reason, when you see that a plant is green, that doesn't mean the plant is not green. They reflect the green, okay, and absorb the other language. For that reason, when you see a picture, when you see something, when we see a color of a different material, every material reflects the light of the sun in different way. It's a fingerprint of the material. And for that reason, the main idea is to try and construct which is the better fingerprint of SARGASSUM. How the satellite can detect this one. Okay? And the main idea is, yes, we can do, but we need to combine several satellites and several things and use something very useful now, something called artificial intelligence. Okay? The main idea is to combine artificial intelligence with this one. But now there are something, the artificial intelligence is something very, very dynamics. The people at the beginning talk about artificial intelligence. Later appeared the name of machine learning. And the people maybe heard about neural networks. But now you will start to hear about transformer, not the film. Huh? It's not the film. It's something new, and one of the best or the most known transformer is ChatGPT. The main idea is to try to construct a big monster with a lot of quantity of data, and to try to train to detect or classify a lot of things, different things. Okay? For instance, when you use ChatGPT at the beginning, the people use 1.5 billion of parameters. This was ChatGPT. Later appeared ChatGPT 3. ChatGPT was trained with more than 175 billion of parameters. Now appeared ChatGPT 4. ChatGPT 4 was trained with more than 1.8 trillion parameters. And now will appear ChatGPT 5 with another monster number. Okay? But the main idea is we can use this new approach of artificial intelligence in order to the algorithms can learn how to detect different materials. In particular, we can try to learn how to detect where is sargassum, how to detect the sargassum. Now there are a lot of algorithms and a lot of people working in this. I know that the people of Mercator have one development. Yes, 1 minute. Well, and the people of ERD, the people of Cariqueo, the people of different places. But the main idea is how we can join this effort and create a new one. In this sense, the idea is how we can combine in situ data, biological model, ocean model, the current model, how the water moves, the artificial intelligence and remote sensing. In this way, you can get and improve the forecasting sargassum. In this sense, we are working with Conabio, with our ERD, with the University of Cantabria, and with Copernicus in order to improve this kind of things. And the main message is, please, if you are interested, talk and try to contrive something together. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jaime. Excellent presentation of what Copernicus can offer. And so we move to our last panelist, last but of course not least, Francis Etienne. He's the ambassador of France in St. Lucia, and he is accredited to many Caribbean countries, including Grenada. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Only the braves remain, so you will be rewarded. No PowerPoint. Because you can't look and listen at the same time, so I want you to listen to me and you get your PowerPoint afterwards. I'm fishing for your questions, and therefore I want to mention 2 facts, 6 phases, and a few ideas on valorization. 2 important facts on which we French, we base our approach to deal with sargassum. The first one, everybody knows it, the sargassum phenomenon has grown in intensity over the last 13, 15 years, and today in 2024 remains high. The first problem is people. Our people need to be protected, their environment has to be protected. This is a technical question, first a political question. You don't save people against their will, their consent, and their participation. And therefore, this is a political question to be addressed wherever we are. Guess what? We have a social resistance against change, whatever the change is, in all our societies. Fact number 1. Fact number 2, offshore sargassum is a habitat for marine and coastal biodiversity. It crystallizes a number of environmental and public health risks when it washes ashore. But in the high seas, it's a resource to be preserved. And Brigitte this morning was very eloquent on that, and we have to stress this. Sargassum is not just primarily a waste. It becomes a waste when touching our shores. Therefore, there's a specific space, physical, in our EEZ, and conceptual, where we have to act. And here, more research is needed. And for some time. We had an idea in a previous session of the floating dams, the Sargator, expressed by Damien, to illustrate that fact. Keeping some sargassum intact far from our shores. It's not against our long-term interest. It's manageable. We just leave it. Agenda. Very briefly, because the Vice President of the Guadeloupe region spoke about it before, but I'd like to come back on what we did since 2018. First, between 2018 and 2022, we had our first national plan to combat sargassum stranding, and there was a sense of urgency, and the question was how to collect. We collected as much as we could, and we spent 15 million euros from state money, but pollution remained and no valorization was involved because of a lack of data. We just tried to get rid of the stuff. One main conclusion at the end of this first phase, still relevant today: storage capacities are essential, and we need to build them whatever happens. Phase number 2, 2019, launch of SARCOP1 program by Guadeloupe in the Inter-Caribbean network, exchange of information, satellite detection, and this project helped for predictability of new waves of sargassum and constitution of a database, as well, very relevant today. Third, 22-25, the second national plan to combat sargassum. We are investing 36 million euros and 6 million specifically for research. We are working, among others, at proper sea collection or containment and dumping in a high sea in our EEZ. Actors, we have an example with Martinique, where the local ship owners union is working on this project in Fort-de-France. Fourth phase, 2023, to increase mobilization, and we come back to politics here. We launched an international initiative on fighting sargassum on December the 2nd in Dubai during the COP28. And we had a declaration adopted and got the support of Costa Rica, Panama, Dominican Republic, Mexico, the Netherlands, the OECS, and the European Commission. The goal: an action plan to be adopted during the third United Nations Conference on Ocean, which will take place in Nice in June 25. So the agenda is clear over the next 9 months. And here, I'd like to mention that the framework of the Cartagena Convention is not to be forgotten nor underestimated. I'm fishing for your questions. Fifth, in 2024, this year, new initiative of Guadeloupe in Interreg 21-27, sharing knowledge and good practices, and I'd like to mention 2 projects, one with Mexico and the other one with the Dominican Republic on marine biodiversity. They will be financed in 2024 and 2025. And last but not least, beside what we want to do in Nice in June 2025, we will launch next year the Agence Française de Développement Sargassum Regional Project, where we will invest 8 million euros, and there will be a call for projects. We're beginning the process. Now, a few words on valorization. We are active, of course, in research, and we have pilot projects. Who is we? 2 institutions, one is represented here today. The ADEME, born in 1991, Agence de l'Environnement et de la Maîtrise de l'Énergie, becoming Agency for Ecological Transition today. And the second is ANR, Agence Nationale de la Recherche. Their results are just starting to be published, and it has been mentioned before me. I'd like to recall some of them. We are working on decontamination. We heard what was said about arsenic and heavy metals. We are working on corrosion, the use of biocides. We are working on pyrolysis, allowing gas production and fertilizers, and we are working on methanization, which means energy production. That means a lot of data. It will take time, and it will require more time in the near future. I'd like to mention a few actors taken on the French territories here in the Caribbean, namely Martinique, Guadeloupe, and Saint-Martin. In Martinique, mixing sugarcane waste, bagasse, and sargassum and producing compost, it was already mentioned, but they are quite interesting to look at, Oldex. In Saint-Martin, you have Verde co-producing, co-generating green waste for compost. And in Guadeloupe, I'd like to mention the methanization factory, which is now being tested by CIVAD. We have to engineer solutions. That's where this meeting is absolutely timely. But we have to go on with research. It's not going to be over within weeks or within months. It's going to take more years. I would like to finish with a final suggestion, and there's no copyright attached to it. We all know the IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, en français, GIEC. Why not thinking about a Caribbean panel? I leave it to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So let us move. We don't have much time, but let us move at least to two questions, for example, from the floor. I think it's a good opportunity for the floor also to participate. There to the right. Micro.
Muchas gracias, soy Pavel Morales, representante de una empresa estatal perteneciente al Ministerio de Ciencia, Tecnología y Medio Ambiente de Cuba. Querría hacer una muy breve reflexión y luego una pregunta, si me lo permiten.
Ambas cosas muy breves porque andamos muy mal de tiempo.
Comprendo. Entiendo que estamos hablando de un problema regional y que requiere de acciones con un enfoque regional. Sobre esto va este panel. Sin embargo, no todos los países estamos en el mismo punto de partida. En parte porque algunos han recibido más el impacto que otros del problema de los sargazos y eso los ha obligado a avanzar más o menos en distintos puntos y de acuerdo a sus capacidades también. Tenemos experiencia regional positiva en este tiempo, recientemente con la Asociación de Estados del Caribe en un proyecto que intentó nivelar las capacidades respecto al enfrentamiento a la erosión costera. Creo que eso podría servir como un modelo a seguir en la línea que propone el compañero del SICA, que habla de integrar a todas las organizaciones regionales trabajando en la región, valga la redundancia. Por nuestra parte, en Cuba, hemos realizado un levantamiento de las capacidades que tenemos a lo interno en cuanto a en qué momento se hallan cada uno de los proyectos de investigación que pueden tributar a la cooperación regional en esta área y estamos en la mayor disposición de compartir nuestras experiencias. Este es el documento que esperamos poder compartir con ustedes y quería preguntarle a los panelistas si recomendarían que este evento tenga como resultado el compromiso y el modo de trabajar en el diseño de proyectos regionales con el fin de compartir nuestros avances, complementarnos y beneficiarnos igualmente de la intención de cooperación gentilmente planteada por la Unión Europea. Muchas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias. One more question, and we come back to the panelists. I don't see. Ah, yes, just there, please.
Good evening. I'm Renee Smith with the Ministry of Climate Resilience, the Environment and Renewable Energy here in Grenada. I don't have a question, but probably a comment. I know we are focused on finding solutions to manage the influx of sargassum on our shores, but I think we also need to really address the why behind these algal bloom. Yes, we know that sargassum bloom are linked to climate change and marine pollution, and while focusing on solutions to utilize sargassum, we should not forget the root cause.
Thank you. Our panelists.
Yeah. Yeah, I think very important point. One of the I think very valuable initiatives has been indeed on the finding having more collaboration on the causes indeed. So for example, with the Abidjan Convention, because indeed now we are focusing on the impacts of sargassum, very much on the end of the line when it reaches our shores. Simultaneously, I think it is indeed very important to also look at the root causes. So, well, climate, of course, climate change, but also eutrophication. But those should happen, I believe, in parallel, because at the same time we need to find a way to address the urgent issues now, the impacts that it has on the livelihoods, on the marine environment. But simultaneously, I think very important point indeed is the root causes would for the long term. Yeah, we should not forget that part as well.
Thank you. Perhaps to the question from our Cuban colleague, Oscar, perhaps? Yeah, thank you.
Sí, claro, yo creo que al menos desde el punto de vista del sistema de la integración centroamericana, sí estamos presentes aquí con esa idea de comenzar a construir una mayor colaboración, así que estamos dispuestos a conversar sobre cualquier mecanismo que nos permita y sobre todo ampliar el enfoque subregional a un enfoque regional más amplio.
Just one thing that's all the countries have their particularities. And so we have very heterogeneous region. We have a different demographic ways, I think. And for that reason, the only way to construct solutions regional is with the participation of everybody. We need, I'm a mathematician, I'm scientist. For me, the obtention of data is crucial. If you don't have data, you cannot construct a solution. And in this sense, it's very important to looking for the way that we can share our experience, our information, our data, and signing an MOU, or I don't know how, but it's very important that we can think to solve regional problems with the regional participation and with the co-construction. This is very important also because not all the people need the same solution. And for that reason, it's very important to create a round table where we can think which are the needs of each one, and in this way try to construct the solutions.
For once, the question number one is not money. It's obvious from all participants that the political will to invest is real, and this is to last. And it's not only a hope, it's a conviction. But what appears to me to be really crucial is the connection between research and development. This is where the crux of the matter is at the moment. Intertwining between scientists, no problem. Intertwining between scientists, research, and developers, yes, there's a need to have those contacts precisely today and tomorrow. And so again, I repeat, I think this meeting is extremely timely. And that's what we, as public servants, have to try to foster. Fostering effort.
Thank you. Milton, you want to say something?
Well, okay, I just react very briefly to the question regarding the underlying drivers, because I think that is so important. We mentioned the big challenge, climate change, pollution, in particular eutrophication. But we also have other significant changes taking place in the ocean contributed by anthropogenic activities of man. And we're seeing a weakening of the ocean circulation system, the currents. And that is actually one of the factors contributing to the inundation of our coastal waters with it. And the scientific evidence is suggesting that that will probably get worse. In other words, the current system will weaken even further. And that's a big concern. So we do have to pay careful attention to that. And at the end of the day, we need to address the fundamentals that is driving warming oceans, climate change, as well as more acidic waters. We have seen a few changes, but we could see a cascading effect and much more significant upset of the natural equilibrium in the ocean if we do not restore the natural health and productivity of the marine environment. That is protecting the abiotic environment as well as the biotic environment, taking the ecosystems approach. So there's a bigger concern about the anthropogenic driven changes in the marine environment that is upsetting the ecosystem, the fish stocks, fish migration, blooms in different things, just upsetting the entire system. So for the long term, we do have to pay attention to restoring the health of our ecosystems and the ocean environment more generally. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I don't know if our virtual panelist, Sylvie Gustave Nidiflo, if you are still with us and you want to make any comment. Exhausted. Okay, so I think with this we can finish, and of course I would like really to thank our panelists.
If I may, perhaps,
sure.
One more? Yeah, I went quite quickly through my presentation as I saw the 4-minute timer, but now I don't have time anymore. Now, one thing that I would like to add as well is there are various regional bodies and international bodies in the Caribbean region, a lot, and all of their very important function. We have CRFM, SICA, 2 examples, and they provide essential they have essential contributions, when it comes to knowledge exchange, when it comes to workshops, when it comes to products, when it comes to establishing networks, etc., etc. The added benefit of the Cartagena Convention is that it very much is the only legally binding agreement with regards to the marine environment in the wider Caribbean region under UNEP. So in the previous panels, it has been mentioned as well, there is a need for a framework on SARGASSUM. I believe that need comes from 2 sides. There's a need for a framework to safeguard the marine environment, but there's also a need for such a framework if we indeed wish to explore private initiatives. Because if you want to facilitate private initiatives, if you want to facilitate using this value chain, then you also need to have that private companies know what they can expect, what is the playing field. So a framework, be it legally binding or be it otherwise, a governance structure, is essential. And the Cartagena Convention, for instance, seems to be the most appropriate location to explore establishing such a framework. So I've heard various comments this day that would seem to underline very much that essence, and we are here together today. The room is a bit less full than before, but various contracting parties of the Cartagena Convention are here. So the need, it seems to be that the need for that is very much shared. Because the caveat, of course, of a legally binding instrument is that also decision making, in all honesty, does not often go so easily and quickly. We make decisions by consensus, meaning that all contracting parties need to agree on establishing a legal framework, which is not something that, well, I think we all know internationally that doesn't always go over one night of sleep. So I would very much recommend that if we wish to explore that direction, that together with contracting parties, with all the contracting parties and other international organizations, experts, etc., that I can imagine there are various modalities to be explored and to be considered of establishing such a framework. I do not know, but there are a lot of experts, legal experts, international experts that can explore these modalities to be decided on. And it seems that there's a lot of momentum. So end of next year, there's the next conference of parties of the Cartagena Convention. So I would say let's use this momentum to see, can we explore what are the options of establishing such a framework, and yeah, try and decide on either establishing it or at least taking a next step to establish it, both to indeed safeguard the marine environment, but also to create the enabling environment for investments to take place.
Oh, thank you very much, and really it was one of the 2 points that I had as a conclusion. The first one, which of course is obvious, is the room that we have with the regional cooperation, and we have heard a lot of good examples of things which are already in process, and from our side, from the EU, we really support very much this regional cooperation. And the second one was a very clear message on the Cartagena Convention. We really think that is an essential instrument, and we have been seeing around this debate how we have to work together and really to use all the elements that the Cartagena Convention brings us, especially from the international legal point of view for sure. So thank you very much, and I would really invite for a round of applause of our panelists. Thank you.
This note, we're gonna ask you guys to proceed to the buses if you want to do so. The bus is ready for transporting you to the cocktail party. I wish you a pleasant evening. We will resume tomorrow morning. We'll do a roundup. We'll do a summary tomorrow morning before we begin the day's activities. So enjoy your evening and see you back here tomorrow morning. Have a good one, everybody.